What's the matter? What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, master detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, Master Detective, presented by the three great Linux home brighteners. Linux Clear Gloss, Linux Cream Polish, and Linux Self-Polishing Wax. Created by Acme, America's great producer of Acme quality paints. Today's curious adventure.
Death by Ricochet, or Nick Carter and the mystery of the abandoned gravel pit.
In just a moment, we'll hear how Nick solved the mystery of how the bullet from the abandoned gravel pit killed the heir to the Marquis' fortune. But first, here's something you should know. Millions have found what wonders Chemtone, the miracle wall finish, can do for walls. Now, millions more are learning what amazing new beauty the three great Linux home brighteners bring to floors, woodwork, and furniture. Linux Clear Gloss Varnish, the durable super varnish that dries to an elastic, transparent surface which protects all wood and linoleum in your home. Linux Cream Polish, which cleans as it polishes, leaving no oily film on your furniture. And Linux Self-Polishing Wax, which beautifies your floors with a satiny yet tough non-skid finish that resists wear, water, and dirt. You'll find the three great Linux home brighteners at your hardware, paint, or department store. Your headquarters also for Chemtone, the miracle wall finish. And now for today's mysterious adventure with Nick Carter. As we open our story, Nick is talking with a young friend of his whom Patsy has just brought in.
But if it's not a criminal case, John, why come to me?
Because it's the next thing to it, Nick.
Well, all right. Let's hear it. Or better take notes, Patsy, in case we want them later.
Of course, Nick. Go ahead, Mr. Mann.
Nick, I killed a man this morning.
What?
Oh, it was an accident, of course, but he's dead just the same.
Well, tell me about it. What happened?
Well, I was shooting in the old gravel pit back of my place on the highway. I've been shooting there a lot, getting ready for the pistol meet that's coming up. Well, this morning I was practicing out there when one of my slugs hit something and ricocheted. I never dreamed that a ricochet could get out of the gravel pit, but this one did, and traveled as far as the Marquis estate.
You mean the Clara Marquis estate?
Yeah, that's right. And the man I killed was her son, Randolph.
Well, that certainly ought to make front page copy.
I should say so.
Patsy, get me her file out of the file room.
Coming right up, Nick.
Now, John, where was Randolph when it was hit?
At the back of the estate, helping one of his nephews rebuild the fence. The nephew, Dave Barton, said he heard the shot, and then the whine of the bullet, and then Randolph fell over. He died instantly.
Here you are, Nick. Our file on Clara Marquis.
Thanks, Patsy. Now, let's see. Lives in a rambling old red brick mansion a mile out of town along the highway. No servants. That's funny, with all her money. Relatives living with her take the place of servants. Her son, Randolph, acts as general handyman on the estate. She handles all business matters herself.
Jolly old soul, I should say.
No one ever accused old Clara Marquis of being jolly. I've tried to get better acquainted with her granddaughter, Teresa, but the old lady won't let me take her out or go there to see her. I only know Teresa from what little I've seen of her around town and a few times I've driven her home. Now that I've killed her father, I suppose I'll never see her again.
Wouldn't be in love with her, would you?
No. Do you think I can be sued for Randolph's death?
Well, what's the coroner's verdict, you know?
Well, he told me he was going to report it was an accident.
Well, John, how far is it from the gravel pit to where Randolph was killed?
About a quarter mile. The Brundage place is in between. Old man Brundage was out picking berries in the back of his place. He says he heard the bullet whine over his head.
I suppose there's no doubt about the time?
No, the sheriff checked on that. Randolph was killed while I was shooting in the pit. No mistake about that.
I see. Was the bullet identified as coming from your gun?
Well, not exactly. It was too badly mutilated, the sheriff said, to be identified as having come from any particular gun. It was all flattened and twisted.
Well, from what you tell me, John, it looks as if you're responsible, all right. For the funeral expenses and so on, at least.
Well, I know that, Nick. I just want to be sure I don't get hooked for what money I've got saved by a damage suit later on. That's why I want you to investigate this for me right away. I want to have it proved an accident so that nothing can come up later to put me in the wrong more than I am now.
Yes, I see what you mean, John. You want me to be sure that we know now all there is to know. Then we file that information away and hope we never need it, right?
That's it exactly, Nick. Will you do it?
Why, certainly, John. I have nothing else on my hands for the moment. Shouldn't be a long job, nor a difficult one. Now, first, I want to have a look at your gravel pit.
All right. I won't be there, but Mother will let you in. I don't suppose there's any chance I didn't fire the shot that got Randolph.
Now, the chances are you did, John. I want to determine the degree of negligence involved. If there's none on your part, you can hardly be held liable for the accident.
Okay, Nick. I'll leave it to you. I'll be seeing you.
Right, John. And don't worry. I think I can clean this up for you.
It doesn't seem possible that a .45 bullet could get out of that gravel pit. And especially not going fast enough to travel a quarter of a mile afterwards.
Strange things happen with bullets sometimes, Betsy.
I suppose.
You heard what Mr. Brundage said.
Yes, according to him, about as many bullets come out of the gravel pit as stay in. Said he's heard them whizzing over his head many a time.
Well, he was probably exaggerating. But there's no question but what he heard the one that killed Randolph Marquis this morning. Said it went only about a foot or so over his head.
Is that possible, Nick?
Oh, yes, indeed. Perfectly possible. And from the way John May's target is set up in the pit, a bullet that did get loose might very well come right across Brundage's berry patch.
Well, I certainly hope you find some way to prove Mr. May didn't do it. He's such a nice fellow.
I don't expect to prove that, Patsy.
You don't?
By the way, how well do you know Teresa Marquis?
Not too well.
Think you could use her name to get us in to look over the grounds, in case the old lady objects?
Oh, gosh, Nick, that's a big order. Nobody has any say around there but old Clara herself, so I understand. I'll try it. What can we lose?
Atta girl. Let's attack them from all sides at once.
It's so nice of you to see us, Miss Marquis. This is Nick Carter. He's acting for John May.
You can tell John, Mr. May, that we won't make him any trouble for the death of my father.
I knew you'd feel like that.
You can also tell him I never want to see him again.
Now, Teresa, I'm afraid you're blaming John May for something he couldn't help. We've just been to look over his gravel pit, and it seems utterly impossible that a bullet could get out of there and travel so far after getting out. I'm sure...
If you're trying to tell her what happened wasn't May's fault, you can get going. And right now.
How do you do? I'm merely trying to find out just how it did happen.
Mr. Carter, this is my cousin, Dave Barton. He was with my father when he was killed.
You're in charge here, Mr. Barton. I'd like your permission to examine the grounds around where Randolph was killed.
Nobody's got the right to say who can snoop around here but Clara Marquis herself.
Surely she could have no objection to...
You'll have to get out.
Dave, if you won't show Mr. Carter around, I will. I know Grandmother wouldn't mind.
You're a fool, Teresa. But, well, come on.
If I can do anything else for you, let me know.
We were putting up a new fence here, Brandy and I. We've been working out here for several days. We could hear young May shooting down in that pit of his all the time. This morning it was different. The shot sounded the same, only this time I heard the whine of the bullet right after it. Now there, here's where Randy was standing. I was down there. The time I got to him was deader than a doornail. If I could get my hands on that young May...
Mr. Barton, is that fence over there about 30 feet? The edge of your property?
Yes. The bush is there on Brundage's side. He was picking berries out there somewhere this morning when Randy was killed.
Nick, would you hear the shot before you heard the whine of the bullet going by?
Certainly, Patsy. You would with an Army .45, which John was using. Because of the size of the bullet, its velocity is slower than that of sound. So you'll hear the report before you hear the bullet. Somewhat...
Mr. Carter, Grandmother's very ill. We sent for the doctor, but she heard that you were here and for some strange reason wants to see you right now.
Mrs. Marquis wants to see me? You sure?
Very sure, Mr. Carter. She insisted. Can you come right away, please?
I've heard about you, Nick Carter. I never thought I'd have any reason to hire you, but it's a strange world. I think heaven sent you here today.
Well, Mrs. Marquis, I've been called many things, but never heaven sent.
There you are this time. My time has come at last. I know it. Dr. Sutton always said a shock would finish me, and Randolph's death has done it. I know.
Nonsense, Mrs. Marquis. You live for years yet.
Rubbish. I'll be dead by tomorrow. And I I want you to make a will before I go. That's why I wanted to see you alone like this.
But, madam, I'm not a lawyer.
I know what you are. And I know you're honest. You can draw up a will, can't you?
Oh, yes, of course I can.
Very well, then. Do it. I've never had a will, and I want one.
Oh, very well. If you'll tell me what disposition you want made of your property, I'll draw it up for you.
Well, that's easy. Half my estate goes to Teresa. The other half is to be divided equally between my other 5 grandchildren.
I see. And who's to be executor?
Teresa. She's the only one of the whole bunch I'd trust.
Of course, I'll have to have the names of the 5 grandchildren.
Of course you will. Of course you will. They're Bartons. David, Forrest, and Jack. And the twins, Myrtle and Hazel.
Very well, Mrs. Marquis. I'll have this ready for your signature in the morning.
No, morning nothing. You'll have it ready for me just as soon as you can get it written down on paper. There's an old typewriter in the library you can use. Now, hurry up, Mr. Carter, and let's get this over with.
Yes?
May I come in, Nick?
Oh, yes, Patsy. I've finished what I'm doing.
You've been writing out the old lady's will?
Ah, what makes you think that?
I can't think of any other reason why you should lock yourself up in this musty old library and spend an hour pounding on a typewriter.
You're quite right, Patsy. But keep it to yourself.
Does she take good care of Teresa?
None of your business, my inquisitive young assistant.
All right, suit yourself. I came to tell you the doctor's here. He says you'll have to wait before you can see Clara. She's lapsed into a coma.
What?
Says she may come out and she may not. But if she does, her mind will be clear enough to sign the will, in case that was what you wanted.
Oh, what a bunch of mind readers around here. Okay, I'll wait.
Oh, by the way, Nick, we're invited to dine with the Bartons tonight.
Oh, good. I'm getting hungry.
You haven't seen the rest of them yet. Maybe you won't be so happy about it when you do.
Why? You seen them?
I'll say I have. Besides Dave Barton, the man we met when we first got here, there's Forrest. He's sort of a dope, apparently. And there's Jack, a rather good-looking kid of about 20. And, last but not least, there are the twins, Myrtle and Hazel.
They cute?
Cute. They're 30 if they're a day. They look 40 and act 50. Or a pair, no mistake. And incidentally, we're eating in the kitchen, if it interests you.
Where we eat is secondary, Patsy. It's the eating part of it that really interests me.
That kitchen is something, too. I just saw it. It's the most home-like part of the whole house. Cozy and comfortable. I don't think it's a bit bigger than Madison Square Garden. And with a shotgun behind the door to add just the right touch.
Patsy, I want you to take care of this will I've drawn up. The moment old Clara comes to, have her sign it. And if you're fond of Teresa, pray that the old lady does come to before she dies.
All right, Nick, I'll take care of it.
Good. Now I'm going to call John May and tell him to come here to the Marquis estate about 8 o'clock.
Well, why do that, Nick? You may start something.
Maybe, but I think it's the wise thing to do. I want you to find Teresa and persuade her to go and meet him in the drive when he blows his horn twice. Now, that's important.
Okay, Nick. She's to meet him in the drive when he blows his horn twice.
I still don't get it, Nick. Couldn't you find a better time and place for me to meet Teresa?
A better time, perhaps, but not a better place. John, I want you to take Teresa away from here. At once.
Are you kidding?
I am not. The odds are that you'll be saving her life. Before morning, she may be in deadly peril. Believe me.
Okay, Nick. I'll take her. If she comes.
Oh, John.
Teresa. Oh, darling.
John.
Which is my cue to...
Early this morning, a shot rang out and Randolph Marquis fell dead. Once again, a shot has startled the Marquis household. Who is dead this time? And what will be its effect on Nick Carter and his attempts to learn the real facts behind Randolph's death? We'll see in just a moment. If you're having difficulty keeping your floors spick and span these slushy winter days, here's the answer. You needn't have track-in trouble at your house, not when you use Linex Clear Gloss Varnish to protect your floors. You see, Linex Clear Gloss Varnish resists both water and dirt so that they're easily wiped away. And Linex Clear Gloss provides an elastic, durable finish that really wears. retaining its lustrous, transparent beauty for a long, long time. Yet it's easily brushed on, and it lessens your housework amazingly. Linex Clear Gloss even resists damage by hot grease, boiling water, fruit acids, perfume, and alcohol, making it the ideal protection for every wood and linoleum surface in your home. Yes, Linex Clear Gloss Varnish is the finest household protective finish you can buy. Depend on it, as so many wise homemakers do. Ask your dealer now for Linex, Lin-X, Linex Clear Gloss Varnish. You'll find all three great Linex home brighteners and Chemtone, the miracle wall finish, at hardware, paint, and department stores everywhere. And now, back to our story. The report of the shotgun, which startled Nick and the rest of the Marquis household, seemed to come from the room where Clara Marquis lay dying. Nick and Patsy raced to the door of the room, only to find the twins, Myrtle and Hazel, standing in the doorway, staring fascinatedly at the old lady's bed.
What's happened? What was...
Don't look at her, Patsy.
Oh.
Oh, it's ghastly. Face has been blown away. Why, she's... Oh, Dr. Sutton. Dr. Sutton.
What's happened to him, Nick?
Why, he's out cold, Patsy.
Oh.
A blow in the back of the head, I should say. Dr. Sutton. What's happened to you, Doctor?
I don't know. I was alone here with a patient. Something hit me. That's all I know. I don't even know where whoever hit me came from.
Well, whoever hit you did for the old lady, all right. Did either of you girls see anything?
No.
Where are your brothers? Where were they when this happened? Oh, come on. You might as well tell me if you know. Oh, all right. I'm going to call the sheriff's office. Do you suppose you two could sort of stay here with the body until someone gets here?
We'll stay.
Well, there's nothing more I can do for her now. I think I'll get some fresh air. Want to step outside with me, Mr. Carter?
Why, of course. I'll be right with you. Oh, Patsy.
Mm-hmm.
Will you pack up the doctor's things and bring them out to the car?
Surely, Nick.
All right, Doctor. Let's get out of here.
Terrible thing, Mr. Carter. Terrible.
Yes, it is. Poor old lady.
She wouldn't have lasted the night anyway. What I wanted to tell you was this. Patsy said it was very important to Teresa to get that will signed. So I gave the old lady an injection which revived her long enough to read the will. Then she signed it, and Patsy and I witnessed it. Was that right?
Perfect, Doctor. Perfect. You have the will now?
No, I gave it to Patsy.
What?
Well, you trusted her with it, so I did.
Clara's murderer finds Patsy, has it? Patsy will be the next victim.
Oh.
Come on. I wonder if she's still in Clara's room where we left her.
I didn't know. I should have.
Patsy. Patsy. She's not here. Do either of you twins know where she went?
No, she left. We thought she was with you, didn't we, Myrtle? Yes. We thought she was with you.
Oh, come on, Doctor. We've got to search the house. There's no time to lose. Well, Doctor, we've been through this house from cellar to attic. She's not here anywhere. I don't like it.
How about the carriage house? There's a light upstairs there.
Oh, yeah, sure there is. Well, let's have a look up there. Oh, that's funny. John May's car's still here.
Yes.
Didn't take Teresa away after all. I wonder why. Well, I hope we find Patsy up here.
Merciful heavens.
Martin, stop that. Let John alone.
You keep out of this. This dirty murderer's getting what's coming to him. The law won't do nothing to John May, but we will.
Martin, if you touch him again, I'll shoot to kill.
You wouldn't have the nerve.
I'll plenty of nerve for cowards like you.
All right. You're on top for now. But we'll get him later. See if we don't.
Now, you two. Forrest and Jack. Let Teresa go.
All right.
Take that gag out of her mouth. Be quick about it.
Oh, Mr. Carter. Oh, thank heaven you've come.
Oh, Doctor, you better have a look at May. He's pretty badly beaten up. Only thing holding him up are the ropes tying him to that post.
Yes. He's in a pretty bad way.
Dave must have hit John at least 20 times.
What happened, Teresa?
Well, they got John right after you left and made me come with them. They brought us up here and tied John to the post so that he couldn't defend himself. Then they gagged me.
Hold on. You mean that all three of them, Forrest, Jake, and Dave, have been with you since right after I left you with John?
Why, yes. Why? Has anything happened?
I'll say there has. Take care of things, Doctor. I've got a job to do. Where is she? Where have you got her?
Got who?
What have you done with her? Oh, in the closet, I suppose. What the... Why, that's not...
Drop that gun.
Don't be a fool. Take that shotgun out of the middle of my back.
You're the fool. Drop that gun.
Very well. Here. Since the body in the closet is that of old Clara, I suppose you must have Patsy under that sheet on the bed.
Yes.
What have you done to her?
Not much. We had to twist her arm a little to make her tell us where she put the will, that's all. Isn't it, Myrtle? Yes. We have it now. It's torn in little pieces.
All right. So you've got what you wanted. Now let us go.
No. We got us a lawyer, too. We know you and your girl could go to court and tell what the will was, and that would be as good as a will. Yes. We aim to take care of you both.
You can't get away with this. I warn you.
Yes, we can. Easy. We'll say Teresa did it. Yes, we will. You didn't suspect us, neither will anyone else. We'll blame Teresa.
Well, Patsy, I've heard about enough, haven't you? Oh, you don't? Sorry to hit a woman, but... All right, Patsy. That takes care of the twins for now. Now, let's see what you look like under that sheet. Wait a minute. Wait till I get this gag out of your mouth. There.
Oh, Nick, I thought you'd never get here. How'd you ever get away from that gun she was holding in your back?
I've studied commando tactics, Patsy. One thing I learned was that if someone is holding a gun at your back, you can twist away from the gun faster than if someone can pull the trigger.
Oh.
Try it sometime.
Thanks. I'll take your word for it, gladly.
So, with Hazel, or Myrtle, knocked cold from the recoil of that 10-gauge shotgun, and Myrtle, or Hazel, out cold from the sock on the jaw I was supposed to give her, we have peace. Temporarily.
Peace. Blessed peace. Even temporary peace.
I hope the sheriff gets here pretty soon now. I'd like to get rid of these two vipers.
Viperesses, Nick.
Viperesses. Before they try biting someone else. They had me fooled completely at first, Sheriff. I didn't believe either of those twins could handle as big a gun as a 10-gauge shotgun. Yet I felt sure, as soon as I saw that shotgun, that the .45 bullet that killed Randolph Marquis came from its barrel.
But why? Old man Brundage said he heard it whine over his head.
Well, the whine of a ricocheting bullet, John, is one of the most deceptive sounds in the world. You can't tell really where it comes from.
But I was right with Randy. I didn't hear any gun fired close. It was fired from the gravel pit, and the bullet came whining.
Of course it did, Barton. The twins were clever enough to pick a mutilated bullet out of the gravel pit where John May shoots. They loaded it into a 10-gauge shell and fired it from behind the bushes on Brundage's property. The bushes acted as a silencer, probably. Both Brundage and Dave heard the whine it set up and assumed it was a ricochet from the pit.
Who'd ever think a woman would figure out a way to load a 10-gauge with a banged-up bullet and then lay for a guy and shoot when somebody else shoots a quarter-mile away?
Why did they do it, Mr. Carter?
Money, Teresa. Money they'd inherit from your grandmother, Clara Marquis.
But I don't get it, Nick. How would Randolph being dead benefit the twins? His daughter would get his share, wouldn't she?
Not if Clara didn't leave a will. That's the point around which everything else revolves, Patsy.
But how does that work out, Nick?
According to the law of the state, if the old lady left no will, Randolph would inherit 1/2 the estate. And the 5 Bartons would inherit the other half, or 1/10 each.
And if Randolph was dead?
With Randolph dead, the 5 Bartons and Teresa, Randolph's daughter, would each inherit equally, or 1/6 of the estate apiece.
Well, how much difference would that make?
Well, figure it out, Patsy. If the estate amounts to $3 million, as I understand it does, each twin would get $300,000 if Randolph were alive. But with him dead, they would each get $500,000, or $200,000 more.
Oh.
Wouldn't that be worthwhile for them?
Gosh, that is some difference, isn't it?
So when they found that old Clara was about to make a will, they had to stop it.
Of course. They knew Teresa was a favorite and would get most of the money. So they killed Clara before she could sign the will I drew up.
Well, then they must have found out afterwards that old Mrs. Marquis had signed the will before she was killed. How'd they learn that?
Now that, John, we'll never know. Somebody said too much or too little. At any rate, they found out just enough to know that Patsy had the will and that it was signed. So they bided their time and got it away from Patsy. Then they laid for me to get rid of any possible witness to the existence of a will.
Do you suppose they would have killed me, Mr. Carter?
No, Teresa. Not if they had got rid of Patsy and me. I asked John to come here and take you away because I didn't know which way the cat was going to jump. and I was afraid the killer would try to nullify the effects of the will by killing you. But fortunately, the dear twin selected Patsy and me as the victims and you for the logical suspect.
Well, anyway, I'm glad you asked John to come over here, no matter what the reason was. It settled things for him and me very nicely.
It's just the way I wanted it to be, Nick. Although I hadn't hoped to get it for a long time yet.
Which proves that you never know where your blessings are coming from. Or something. Well, anyway, good luck to you both.
In just a moment, Nick and Patsy will bring you a preview of next week's exciting case. But first, here's a suggestion. On a winter night, as the family gathers cozily at home for an evening of fun together, every moment is more enjoyable when home looks its inviting best. And it always does when you depend on the 3 great Linex home brighteners to keep woodwork, floors, and furniture sparkling. Your furniture, for example, regains its original gleaming beauty when you use Linex Cream Polish. For Linex Cream Polish cleans as it polishes, removing in one quick application all the cloudy accumulation of dust in previous polish. Yes, you save one whole step in your cleaning day routine when you use Linex Cream Polish on your furniture. It's truly the modern shortcut to furniture upkeep, taking only half the time. You'll find that Linex Cream Polish banishes messy fingerprints from your furniture, helps to hide ugly scratches, too. And there's no oily film on your furniture to attract more dust, to make more work. So do ask your dealer for Linex Cream Polish. Ask for all 3 great Linex home brighteners. Remember, that's Linex, spelled Lin-X. You'll find them all. Linex self-polishing wax, Linex cream polish, and Linex clear gloss varnish at your nearest hardware, paint, or department store. And now let's hear from Nick Carter himself. What about it, Nick? Have you an exciting story for next week?
Well, next week, Ken, I want to tell you what happened when I stopped off in a little town upstate to tell a rookie cop's family how sorry we were that he'd been killed in line of duty.
Well, that doesn't sound very exciting to me.
It was what happened after Nick stopped off there that makes the story. He found a household ruled by fear. Fear and hate.
With a mad old woman at the head of it who was convinced that she had been divinely appointed to set the world right.
Oh, that's very different, Nick. Well, where did you come into it?
Nick stopped a well-laid plan to commit wholesale murder and save the daughter of the house a fortune running into the millions.
Just because the killer forgot to quote the right Bible verse at the right time.
What do you call it?
An eye for an eye.
Or the mystery of the upstate murders.
And that's all for now. So long.
So long, everybody.
So long to you both, Nick and Patsy. We'll be seeing you again next week. Next week at this same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter, Master Detective, entitled
An Eye for an Eye. For Nick Carter and the mystery of the upstate murders.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, is featured in Street and Smith magazines. Lon Clark is starred as Nick with Helen Choate as Patsy. Original music is played by Lou White, and the programs are written and directed by Jock McGregor. Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented each week at this time and over these same stations by the 3 great Linex home brighteners. Linex clear gloss varnish, Linex cream polish, and Linex self-polishing wax, created by Acme, America's great producer of Acme fine quality paints. This is Ken Powell speaking for the thousands of Linex dealers all over America and saying so long until next week. This is Mutual.
New post-war Old Dutch cleanser, famous for chasing dirt, presents Nick Carter, famous for chasing crime. Every week at this time, 2 great names are joined, as new post-war Old Dutch cleanser brings you one of the most resourceful and daring characters in all detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Nick, are you going to break into this apartment?
I don't have to, Patsy. Sally gave me her key.
Oh, gee, you think of everything, don't you?
I try to. Okay, come on in.
Uh-huh. Well, this is certainly a pleasant living room. Nothing sinister here.
Uh-huh. Looks as though there are 2 bedrooms, too. Wonder whether this one is Mary's. Let's see what...
Oh,
Great Scott!
Nick.
This girl's been shot through the temple.
Oh, Nick, I wonder if she...
Somebody just came in the front door. It's all right, Miss Carlyle. It's...
And now, The Case of the Quiet Roommate. Today's adventure starring Lon Clark as Nick Carter. Brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. It's late in the afternoon, and Nick and Patsy are in the lavish office of John Fenruss, president of the Fenruss Department Store.
I'm glad you brought Miss Bowen to the store with you, Mr. Carter. She'll understand this business.
You said you were being annoyed by a blackmailer, Mr. Fenruss.
Precisely. The girl who worked here until last Saturday night is trying to shake me down for a lot of money.
You were involved with her?
Of course not. Nothing of the sort.
Then what's the trouble?
Our fashion designs are being stolen.
Oh, you mean that the clothes sold in the Fenruss store are exclusive?
A great many of them are, Miss Bowen. 2 years ago, I hired Jerry Bartlett, one of the best-dressed designers in the business, to create designs exclusively for the Fenruss store.
Well, I knew Fenruss models couldn't be bought anywhere else in town.
Yeah, but that's the point. They can be now.
Oh?
The cut-rate stores have our exclusive styles at marked-down prices before we even put them on sale here.
That can't be very profitable.
Profitable? We've lost a fortune. And this girl says she knows how our fashions are being pirated and who's responsible for it.
And she won't tell you who it is?
Tell me. She has the gall to ask $2,500 for the information.
Then you want me to find out who's stealing your design?
No. I want you to force Mary Danville to give me that information.
Without paying for it, you mean?
I have a right to know. And it's her duty to tell me without blackmailing me. I want you to scare her.
Scaring girls is out of my line, Mr. Fenruss. You want me to investigate your problem?
Oh, so you want to run up a lot of investigating fees, do you? Well, I won't fall for it.
I'm not asking you to fall for anything.
I'm responsible to the board of directors for every dollar I spend. It isn't my money.
It's your store, isn't it?
Well, it was my father's store. Now it belongs to a great many people. And they expect me to show a profit. I can't throw money away on detectives.
Well, it's probably just as well, Mr. Fenruss. I don't think I'd enjoy working for you anyway.
Mr. Carter, if my secretary were here, I'd have her show you out.
Oh, we can find our way out. Come on, Patsy.
With pleasure. Mr. Fenruss.
Miss Carlyle, do you think my office is a public waiting room?
Miss Drake isn't at her desk, and I have to see you.
Just the same...
What you do to Mary Danville is none of my business. But when you start ransacking my apartment just because...
Control yourself, Miss Carlyle. I've done no such thing.
Then if you didn't do it, you hired someone to.
Your accusations are in particularly bad taste in front of outsiders, Miss Carlyle.
Oh, don't worry about us, Mr. Fenruss. This young lady's outburst hasn't changed my opinion of you a bit. I think I'd like to talk to Miss Carlyle privately, though.
I forbid it.
Oh, you do?
I certainly do. This man's a detective, Miss Carlyle.
Fine. Mr. Detective, if you'll come down to the Fenruss exclusive shop, I'd like very much to talk to you privately.
Well, I didn't imagine you'd have a private office like this, Miss Carlyle.
Oh, yes, Mr. Carter. I'm in charge of the Fenruss exclusive shop. But with a job like that, I should think you'd be afraid to antagonize Mr. Fenruss. Wouldn't you hate to be fired? He won't fire me, Miss Bowen.
What makes you so sure?
Because Mr. Fenruss is the only person in the world who would have any reason for ransacking the apartment that Mary and I share. He wants the information Mary has. Do you have it too, Miss Carlyle? No. But if I did, I'd do exactly what she's doing. I'd make him pay for it.
Was the lock on your apartment door broken?
No, it wasn't. But somebody had been there because Mary's wardrobe trunk had been turned inside out and my room had been all torn up, too.
Was anything stolen?
Nothing of mine, and Mary says Fenruss didn't find what he was after.
I see. Miss Carlyle, you said Mary Danville hadn't told you what she knows about the fashion thefts. Are you and your roommate on friendly terms?
Yes, of course. I got the store to hire her, and I also saw to it that she was pushed ahead. But she still doesn't trust you enough to tell you. That is not the point. She said I'd be better off not knowing. That what she'd discovered was dynamite.
Look, Miss Carlyle, I don't want to alarm you, but can you get a room for yourself and Mary Danville at a hotel for a few nights?
Why, I suppose so.
Then I'd do it if I were you. I wouldn't let anybody know where I was staying.
But everything's happened while I've been here at the store. Nobody would dare to try anything while Mary and I were at home.
I'm not too sure of that. Is Mary at your apartment now?
I think so. Why?
I want to talk to her, and I'd also like to examine your apartment.
Do you want me to take you there now?
No, I want you to line up a hotel room. Besides, Patsy and I may do better talking to Mary alone.
If you think
I don't think anything yet, Miss Carlyle, except that you may not find it healthy to stay in your apartment.
All right, Mr. Carter, I'll do whatever you say. I can hear somebody in there, Nick. Maybe she's afraid to open the door.
Miss Danville, Sally Carlyle sent us. I'm Nick Carter, a private investigator. Look, Miss Danville, I know you're in there because I heard you moving around.
I guess she isn't going to let us in, Nick.
I'm going to camp right here on your doorstep till you open this door, Miss Danville. I'm here to help you if I can.
What?
Well, now, you're being sensible.
I don't know you. What?
Miss Bone and I would like you to tell us what you can about your apartment being searched recently.
Sally Carlyle told us about it, Miss Danville. Nick and I are here to investigate.
So if you'll let us in...
I'm in a hurry right now. I have a date. Couldn't you come back some other time?
I'm afraid this can't wait, Miss
But
Danville.
I can't talk...
There's one thing I want particularly to know. Was anything stolen from your wardrobe trunk?
No. Miss Carlyle thinks Mr. Fenruss did the searching. So what?
Well, do you have any idea?
Look, Mr. What's-your-name, I told you I'm in a hurry. I'm late for my date now.
Is your date with a gentleman friend?
Oh, yes, my date's with a man.
Then we'll just talk to you here outside your door till he arrives.
But I'm to meet him downstairs in the lobby.
Oh? Your callers meet you in the lobby, do they?
Look, I don't know you. Maybe you're a detective and maybe you're not. But until Sally's here to say you're okay, I'm not going to talk to you. I'm ready to leave and I'm going right now.
You're making a mistake, Miss Danville.
Maybe, maybe not. But don't try to follow me down to the lobby. If you do, I'll call the police.
Very well. We won't even go down in the same elevator with you. Go right ahead.
That's what I intend to do. Nick, aren't you going to follow her?
No. We're to wait here and see what she does.
Well, what do you expect her to do?
Patsy, if you were Miss Danville, would you leave two strangers standing in front of your door after a conversation like the one we've just had?
Well, that all depends.
Depends nothing. You'd meet your boyfriend in the lobby and then get right back up here to see what's going on.
Well, if you ask me, I don't think she has a date.
You don't?
No. And if she did, it wasn't with a man.
Well, why do you say that?
Well, she didn't powder her nose and it was shiny. And her lipstick wasn't on straight. No, Nick. I have a feeling she just wanted to get away from this apartment as fast as she could.
Say, maybe you're right. Come on, let's get inside and see what was bothering her.
What? Oh, Nick, you aren't going to break into that apartment, are you?
Don't have to. Sally Carlyle gave me her key.
Oh, gee, you think of everything, don't you?
That's right, dear. All right, come on.
Right. Well, it's certainly a pleasant living room. Nothing sinister here.
Mm-hmm. Looks as though there were two bedrooms. I wonder which one is Mary Danville.
Well, not this one. At least I wouldn't think so.
Why not?
Because the picture's on the vanity, and you'd hardly have your own picture in your room.
Good girl. So Mary Danville's room must be the other one.
Of course.
Well, let's see what's there. Great Scott!
Nick, no wonder Mary wanted to get away.
Girl on the floor. She's been shot through the temple.
Nick, do you suppose...
Quiet. Somebody just came in the front door. Let's listen. Maybe we can hear something.
Okay.
Who's there? Who is it? Wait here, Sally.
No, Jerry, don't. Let's get out of here and call the police.
Nonsense. Whoever you are, come on out or I'll shoot.
All right, Miss Carlyle, it's...
Oh, Jerry, you fool. That's the detective. Oh, Mr. Carter, are you hurt?
Not a bit, Miss Carlyle, but tell your trigger-happy friend to quit pointing that revolver at me.
Oh, I'm sorry, old fellow, but I was nervous. After what's been happening here,
It's good most people can't hit anything with a revolver. This is Jerry Bartlett, our fashion designer, Nick Carter, and his secretary, Miss Bowen.
How do you do? I'm awfully sorry I frightened you, but I was excited.
I thought I told you not to come back here, Miss Carlyle.
I know, but I got to thinking about Mary Danville, and... Well, if it was dangerous for me to be here, it was dangerous for her, too. So I came up to get her. But she just left a few minutes ago. Oh, I see. Well, in that case, Jerry, I suppose we might as well leave, too.
Right.
Just a minute, Miss Carlyle. Did you see your roommate in the lobby just now?
In the lobby? No.
Well, there's somebody else in this apartment. In one of the bedrooms.
You mean you've caught our mysterious visitor? Oh, that's wonderful. But who is...
Suppose you take a look.
That's a good idea.
Oh, no. No!
Recognize her, Miss Carlyle?
Of course we recognize her.
But that's Mary Danville.
What? You mean this murdered girl is your roommate?
Yes. But why would anyone... Mr. Carter, you've got to catch her murderer. You've got to.
I think I did catch her murderer, Miss Carlyle. But I let her get away.
Mary Danville was apparently murdered by the girl who made a cool, daring getaway. But the fugitive's picture is on Sally Carlyle's vanity, so we should know who she was in just a moment. Now back to The Case of the Quiet Roommate. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. The scene is Sally Carlyle's bedroom, and Nick stares grimly at the photograph he's removed from Sally's dressing table.
This is a picture of the girl who left your apartment just as we arrived. Who is she, Miss Carlyle?
Why, that's Dorothy Drake.
She a particularly good friend of yours?
Well, she gave me the picture, and she stops in to see me once in a while, that's all.
She's Fenris's secretary, so everybody in the store tries to get in solid with her.
Oh, I see.
Well, they think she can give them a boost with Fenris.
She really have that much influence with him?
Well, if I think I'll have trouble getting Fenris to okay one of my fashion designs, I try to sell Dorothy on it first. If it's okay with her, he'll take it.
Oh, then she gets to see your designs before they're approved?
Well, sure she does.
Uh-huh.
Who else sees them?
Well, Fenris, of course, and Sally here.
Oh, yes, I see them, too.
You think this Dorothy Drake would commit murder to help Fenris?
You said she was here in this apartment when you got here, didn't you?
Yes, she was.
Well, I don't see why you let her get away.
Well, she told us she was Mary Danville. We had no reason to doubt her.
But she doesn't look the least bit like Mary.
Don't forget, Miss Carlyle, I never saw Mary Danville before.
And we didn't find Mary's body until after Dorothy Drake had left. She must have killed Mary. All you have to do is find her.
You know where she lives?
Well, sure, there's no secret about that. Over on Prince Street.
But she won't be there. Mary must have known that she was the fashion thief.
Oh, just a minute, Miss Carlyle. We can't assume that she's guilty of Mary's murder or of the fashion thefts either. You and Mr. Bartlett and Mr. Fenris all had access to the fashion designs.
But if she isn't guilty, why did she run away?
We don't know that she has run away. If she's smart, we'll find her at home. Let's see if she is smart.
All right, come in.
You don't seem surprised to see us, Miss Drake.
I knew you'd be here after me. Well, are you coming in?
Thanks. We are.
I suppose you found Mary's body?
We did.
And I suppose you expect me to say I didn't kill her?
Naturally.
And I suppose you won't believe me when I do.
Well, you lied to us at Sally Carlyle's apartment.
Of course I lied. I was frightened. I just found Mary's body.
You mean she was dead when you went into her apartment?
Yes, she was.
Then how did you get in?
I had a key.
Where'd you get it?
That's none of your business.
Solving murders is my business, Miss Drake, and unless you give me some straight answers, I'm going to escort you down to headquarters.
I wouldn't try that if I were you.
Why not?
I'll sue you for false arrest, and I'll collect.
You seem pretty sure of yourself.
You'll find out how sure I am if you try to make trouble for me.
You think Mr. Fenris will back you up, huh? I wouldn't count on that if I were you.
No?
Look, if you're going to take that attitude, Miss Drake, I'll have to show you I'm not bluffing. Come on.
Come on, where?
To headquarters. Where do you think?
Now, look, you can't
I certainly can. And if you won't come willingly with me, I'll have Sergeant Matheson of the homicide squad here within 10 minutes.
You just try it and see what'll happen.
Very well. Where's the telephone, Miss Drake?
It's in the hall, Nick.
Fine. Call Mattie, will you?
Right.
No! Don't you dare! Walter!
Mr. Carter,
Well,
if I were you, I wouldn't make any phone calls until I knew what I was doing.
Why, Mr. Fenris.
I won't have my secretary, myself, or the store mixed up in a murder scandal, Carter. And if you do it, I'll run you right out of business.
what are you doing here, Fenris?
He came because I called him as soon as I got away from Mary Danville's apartment.
Okay, now that we're back to that, Miss Drake, I still want to know why you went there.
She was following orders, Carter.
Your orders?
Naturally. I was entitled to the information the Danville girl said she had, and I was going to get it.
Even if you had to steal it.
Her attempt to extort money from me was outside the law. You have to fight fire with fire.
So you gave Miss Drake the key to Miss Danville's apartment.
I did.
Where did you get it?
We have a key shop in the basement of our store. I borrowed Sally Carlyle's key from her locker long enough to have a duplicate made.
Did you borrow it with Sally's permission?
I told you. You have to
I
fight...
know, you have to fight fire with fire. Okay, so you had Miss Drake sneak into Miss Danville's apartment. What was she supposed to steal?
Mary Danville claimed she had a package of correspondence that proved the identity of the fashion thief. I wanted it.
Hey, wait a minute. Wait a minute. You say you sent your secretary to get the letters Mary Danville had?
I did.
But before she'd had any chance to let you know whether she got them or not, you called me and asked me to get them. Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. I had no intention of hiring you. From what I'd heard about you, I was quite sure you wouldn't take the job.
Suppose I'd said I would.
I'd have found some excuse for not hiring you.
Then why did you call me?
That's really very simple, Carter. If Miss Drake had been successful in getting those letters, Mary Danville would have immediately accused me of having her apartment burglarized. But I would have been in a position to deny it.
How?
I could have proved that I was trying to hire a detective to get the letters for me at the very time somebody else was actually getting them.
Very clever, Fenris. But now you've put your secretary right on the spot.
He has not. I was...
You were in the apartment with Mary Danville's body when we found you, Miss Drake, and you admit why you were there.
But that doesn't mean
By the
that
way, did you get the letters?
No. When I saw Mary's body, I didn't even stop to look for them.
I think perhaps you did.
What?
I think perhaps you found them and didn't want Mr. Fenris to know you found them.
You're accusing Miss Drake of being the fashion thief, and that's preposterous.
Mary Danville's murder is preposterous, too, Fenris. But it happened.
Just the same.
Did anybody else, except Miss Drake, check out at the store just before the murder?
Yes. Sally Carlisle took an extra hour at lunchtime because she said she was nervous about her apartment and wanted to go home to check things.
How about Jerry Bartlett?
Say, I remember now. What? He came in while you were out, Mr. Fenris, and said he wanted an hour off to attend to some personal business. And I told him it would be all right.
So nobody's eliminated. Well, looks as though our first job is to find those letters.
But where are you going to look for them?
I don't know, Mr. Fenris, but I'm going to start looking just the same. And when I get any information, you can be sure I'll let you know.
Miss Bowen, what's the idea of summoning all of us here to Carter's office in this high-handed manner?
He has some information for you.
He isn't even here.
He said he'd be delayed a bit, Mr. Fenris.
Delayed? Doesn't he know my time's valuable?
Should we go back to the store, Mr. Fenris?
You can go back if you like, but I'm staying right here.
Oh, you are you? We'll see about that.
I'm staying, too. Mr. Carter must have had an important reason for asking us to come here.
The only thing that's important to me is to find out who's been stealing our fashion design.
You mean murder doesn't bother you?
Mary Danville was outside the law, Miss Bowen. She deserved what she got. Did Carter say how soon he'd be here?
I'm sorry. He didn't. Just the same, we'll wait until he gets here. All of us.
This is an outrage. We've been here nearly 2 hours, and I refuse to submit to such treatment any longer. Where is Carter, anyway?
I'm sure I don't know, Mr. Fenris. All he said over the phone the last time he called was...
I know. He said to tell us to wait. Well, I'm not going to wait any longer.
I'll bet you are. Your curiosity wouldn't let you do anything else.
What the devil's he up to, anyway?
Oh, Miss Board wouldn't tell, even if she knew, Jerry. Always not to reason why. Always just to wait.
Hi, everybody.
Well, it's about time, Carter. Do you realize you've kept us waiting here?
Yes, Mr. Fenris, I've kept you waiting about 2 hours.
Well, your explanation better be good. I'm a busy man.
My explanation's very good. I intended to keep you people waiting here when I called you.
Why, of all the colossal nerve...
I had to get you here so I could search your homes without being disturbed.
You mean you...
I mean, I've made a thorough search, Miss Drake, with the full approval of the police department.
I'll have you thrown into jail. I'll have
Calm down, Mr. Fenris. You said the proper way to fight fire was with fire, remember?
I confound you.
You were interested in results, Fenris. Well, I've got results right here in this package.
What's in it?
The letters that cost Mary Danville her life, all ready to be turned over to the police.
Have you read them?
I haven't even examined them. I thought I'd prefer to do that with everyone present.
Well, why wait any longer, then?
I don't intend to wait.
No, I'll take care of this. Nobody's going to frame me.
Nick has got a gun.
So I see. Has anyone accused you of anything, Mr. Bartlett?
No, and nobody's going to.
Well, as long as you have that gun in your hand, I suppose you're right.
You just keep away from me if you don't want this gun to go off. Now, let's see these letters. Why,
They aren't the letters at all. Carter's trying to trick us.
Quite right, Mr. Fenris. They're fakes. I didn't even look for the letters.
What?
You didn't look for them.
No, I didn't. Mr. Fenris, how did you know these letters are fakes?
Why...
You said you'd never seen the letters, and yet you know at once these aren't genuine. How about that?
Carter, are you accusing me of something?
Yes. I'm accusing you of Mary Danville's murder.
That's utterly ridiculous. You don't think I'd steal my own fashions, do you?
They aren't your fashions.
That's just the point, Fenris. They aren't your fashions.
Now, see here.
You're president of the store because of your name, because your father founded the business. The money you made stealing those fashions and selling them was probably more than your salary.
So Fenris murdered Mary, then deliberately sent me to her apartment so that if anything went wrong, I'd be the suspect.
Miss Drake, don't be a fool.
I'm not anymore. I'm getting smart. The rest of us had to check out before we could leave the store, but you didn't. And I'm the only one who knows you weren't around the store at the time of the murder.
Nick, that's right. She said Mr. Fenris was out, so she told Jerry Bartlett it would be all right for him to leave.
Look, Carter, it may be news to you, but there aren't any letters.
There aren't.
No, Mary and I worked out that scheme because I thought Fenris suspected me.
What scheme?
Well, you see, it was like this. I paid Mary to quit her job and make Fenris that proposition. My professional reputation was at stake, and I thought I could get the fashion thief to show his hand that way.
If you knew there weren't any letters, why did you pull that gun?
Well, I got excited, I guess. I knew there weren't any letters, and then when you showed up with a whole bundle of them, I figured I was being framed with fake letters. I wasn't going to stand for that.
Oh, you've all lost your senses. You're leaving that fantastic story about hiring Mary Danville. Look at him with his gun in his hand.
Jerry, look out!
Not quick enough, Bartlett. Don't try to get your gun back, not unless you want a slug in the heart. And that goes for all of you.
Mr. Fenris, covering the group with the revolver he grabbed from Bartlett, edges his way toward the door of Nick Carter's office. We'll see what happens in just a moment. And now for the conclusion of The Case of the Quiet Roommate. Today's adventure with Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. Mr. Fenris, revolver in one hand, reaches for the door of Nick's office with the other.
So you thought Mary Danville knew you'd been selling those fashion designs, Fenris?
And that's why you killed her.
Yes. I thought she was all set to blackmail me for the rest of my life. It's Bartlett's fault that I killed her.
Why, you can't hang the blame on me, Fenris.
And you can't leave this office either.
Try to stop me. See what happens to you.
I have a trick lock on the door to prevent just such things.
But, Nick...
I snapped the secret catch when I came into the room. You'll never be able to find it, Fenris.
Thanks for telling me, Carter. In that case, I'll let you find it for me.
Oh, no dice.
You don't have any choice. Get over here and open this door, or I'll blow your head off.
Wow.
I mean it.
Okay. I guess you got me.
Get it open. And be quick about it.
All right. Take it easy, Fenris. I can't be quick about it. First, you twist the door handle slightly to the left like this, and a full turn to the right like this.
Don't try any funny business, Carter. I'm right behind you, and I'm ready to pull the trigger if I have to.
I'm sure you are. Now you turn the doorknob to the left again. And...
Open it! Wait. Right, give me the gun, Fenris. Give it to me before I break your arm.
Tricked me. You slammed the door into me.
And I'm going to slam my left fist right into your face if you don't drop that gun.
You? All right.
I've got it, Carter.
All right, good. Hold on to it this time.
I didn't want to kill Mary Danville. I thought I had to do it.
I'm sorry I can't sympathize with you.
You tricked me, Carter. How did you know?
I didn't know, Fenris. Didn't have any idea of who was guilty. But you remember what I said about guilty people running away?
But...
That's why I arranged this meeting, to give the murderer a chance to try to run away. And it worked.
But if there weren't any letters, Nick, if Mary Danville didn't have any letters...
There were letters, Patsy. But she didn't have them. The letters were from Fenris to the people who bought the fashion designs from him.
Yes. They wouldn't buy unless I gave them something to put them in the clear in case the store ever brought any suits against them. I thought she got hold of those letters in some way.
But you acted as though you thought I was double-crossing you. Oh, you had me half crazy.
I had to accuse someone, didn't I?
And you're still trying to justify yourself, aren't you?
The store should have been mine. I only got a small part of what I deserved.
Well, starting right now, Fenris, you're going to get more than a small part of what you deserve. You're going to get the works.
Well, Nick, let's hear something about the adventure new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser is going to bring us next week.
Mike, it started when Patsy and I went on a visit to another city and were greeted by a welcoming committee.
A welcoming committee with machine guns, no less.
Yeah, I went there to look for a gangster, but I spent most of my time looking for Patsy.
You see, Mike, I found the gangster first, and I was sorry I ever did, believe me.
Yeah, Patsy pretended to be a gunball. She played the part entirely too well for her own safety.
It sounds as though we're in for an exciting half hour, Nick. What do you call this adventure?
I call it The Case of the Great Impersonation.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented each week at this time by the Cudahy Packing Company. It is produced and directed by Jock McGregor and is copyrighted by Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. Charlotte Manson is featured as Patsy. Today's script was written by George B. Anderson. Original music is played by Henry Silverne. This program is fictional, and any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, is purely coincidental. With millions of additional children entering our schools during the next few years, the nation faces serious educational handicaps. Inferior education for our boys and girls may damage our prosperity, our traditions of freedom, our security. That's why we urge every adult to work with local civic groups and school boards to help improve educational conditions. Show by your interest and friendliness that you appreciate the importance of your children's teachers. They mold our nation's future. This is Michael Fitzmaurice saying, when minutes count, use new post-war Old Dutch Cleanser. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
What's the matter? What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, master detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure,
Death in the Pines. For Nick Carter and the mystery of the murdered driver.
Well, let's see. There's a truck coming up the grade now. It ought to be them.
Yeah. Just 130. That's a Tate truck, all right. Now, you guys know what to do. We've done it often enough before.
Sure.
All right. Get going. When the truck gets close enough, I'll put the searchlight in the driver's face like before. He'll stop fast enough. Here goes, guys.
Hey! What the blazes goes on here? What's the big idea?
Get those hands up, wise guy, and get down out of that cab.
You guys can't get away with
Shut
this.
up. You want to stay alive, get down out of that cab and keep quiet. And bring your helper down with you.
You're a bunch of crooks.
Don't,
And
Jack,
I'll
don't.
They got us. There ain't nothing we can do.
Okay, boys, get busy. Get up on that truck and get that stuff dumped out in the road. Okay. Shake it up, boys. We want to get out of here.
Hey, keep your boys moving, Jake. We got another one to take care of yet.
Hey, I know that voice. So you're the guy who's in back of all this hijacking. Now I know
Do
you.
ya? Well, I hope you enjoy it.
Oh! What's the idea? What'd you have to kill him for?
Shut up, punk. You don't want to get bumped off, too.
But you didn't have to kill him.
Shut up!
Hey, that changes our plans a little, Jake. Get your men down off the truck. Pick these two stiffs up and put them back in the cab of the truck. Then put a hole in the gas tank and touch a match to it.
Okay, boys, come on down.
There won't be much left for the cops to work on when they get here, which is all right with me. I don't like to see them get killed, but when they know too much, it's the only way.
I see, Coroner. Yes, thanks very much. Yes, thanks. So long.
Might as well let me know the worst, Mr. Carter. After what I've been through, a little more or less doesn't matter.
Mr. Tate, I'm sorry to have to tell you this, but your driver wasn't burned to death. He was shot, murdered before the truck was set on fire.
Yeah, I was afraid of that. Regan was my oldest and best driver. Been with me for 10 years.
You're having trouble with racketeers?
Yes, have been for the past year.
How do they work?
Well, I operate about 40 trucks, hauling vegetables and green stuff from South Jersey to the New York markets. It has to be done at night, so we get to New York market before morning. About a year ago, somebody called me on the phone and said he represented a protective agency. That he'd like to sell me protection at $25 a truck.
$25 a truck? Well, that's pretty steep, isn't it?
It's exorbitant. I told him I wouldn't pay it.
So what happened?
2 days later, one of my trucks was stopped and the drivers were beaten. The produce was dumped and destroyed. The next day, the guy called again. I told him I wouldn't pay.
Did you try getting protection from the state troopers?
Sure I did. And they did what they could.
Whenever a trooper followed one of the trucks, or when one of their men rode on the truck as a helper, these trucks were never bothered. But the other trucks, it was the same old story.
I see. Well, how do you account for the fact that the trucks with the troopers on them were never touched?
I don't know, unless the hijackers had spies at the loading points to watch if the trucks had their regular crews.
And what was the outcome this time?
In the end, I had to agree to pay the $25. And then, for 6 months, there was no more trouble. A week ago, this same guy called and said the ante had been raised from $25 to $40 a truck.
$40?
I told him I couldn't pay that because I didn't make that much. And you know what happened last night.
Yes, I know. Well, are you going to try to keep writing the stuff through?
If you can help me, I will.
I'll do it. And to begin with, I'd like to put my assistant, Patsy Bowen, in your office as a typist.
Sure.
Maybe she can learn something that will start us off in the right direction. Well, Patsy, did you have a nice eventful day in Tate's office?
I learned a few things, Nick, if that's what you mean.
Good. Let's have them.
Mr. Tate makes up the daily schedule of operations based on the orders he receives. Then he turns the completed schedule over to Al Leparo, who's the fleet foreman.
Mm-hmm.
Only Mr. Tate, Leparo, and Dave Morgan, who's Tate's assistant, know what the orders are, as far as I can find out.
I see. Any suspicions?
Not yet. Leparo's been with Tate 9 years and Morgan for about 4 years. When the trouble started about a year ago, both of them rode the trucks. Morgan was one of the drivers who got beaten up, got knocked out cold before he could see anything.
Doesn't leave us much in the way of anything to go on, does it?
Oh, sorry, Nick, but that's all I could get today.
I don't feel bad, Patsy. You did what you could.
What's the next step?
I want to talk to the state trooper who found the truck in which Regan was killed. He may be able to tell me something that's been overlooked.
You say you read my report, Mr. Carter. I don't know that I can tell you anything else.
Were you on the state police force when Tate started having his trouble about a year ago?
Yes, I was.
Well, that business of the hijackers never picking on a truck guarded by state troopers needs explaining. Could there have been any leak from this end?
Absolutely not. I rode several of the trucks myself. None of us ever knew where we were going until Tate's office gave us our orders. Then we went out on the road just as soon as we got those orders.
Good. Then the leak must be on Tate's end. Now, the next thing. Your report gives the impression that the thugs simply stopped Tate's truck, killed the driver in cold blood, and then burned the truck for good measure. Was that your personal impression?
Well, no.
Ah.
When I first got there, I was suspicious because the truck hadn't gone off the road or collided with anything that would cause a fire or a wreck. Then I remembered that Tate's trucks had been having trouble a while back, so I took another look around.
And the result of that second examination?
The truck was surrounded by crates which had been thrown off the truck. Crates that were smashed and broken, but not burned. Now, if the hijackers were going to burn the truck, why bother to throw all those crates off the truck first? It just didn't make sense.
That's what I wanted to know. I'd say the gang started out to do the usual job, smashing the cargo and manhandling the crew. But then something happened. Something that made them switch their tactics. And they did something they'd never done before. They killed the driver.
Yeah, that explanation would fit the facts as I saw them. But what do you suppose caused the change in plan?
Well, I could make a guess, maybe. Tate told me that Regan was his oldest driver.
Yeah?
Now, somebody in Tate's outfit must be in league with the hijackers. That's the only way they could know as much as they do. I believe that Regan recognized one of Tate's men in the hijack gang.
Sure. And that fits right in with the idea that somebody in Tate's outfit was crossing him. Yes, Mr. Carter, I believe you've hit something.
Have you arranged with Mr. Tate for me to go to work for him?
Oh, no, Scubby. I haven't said anything to him. I don't want him to know.
Well, then how do you know I can get the job?
Tate's lost so many men since Regan was killed a couple of nights ago that he'll be glad to hire anybody. Patsy will fix you up with the necessary papers, licenses, references, and so forth. Wear your old clothes and don't wash your neck, and you'll have no trouble getting hired.
And what do you want me to look for especially, Nick?
Well, according to what Patsy says, the leak either goes through Tate, which hardly seems likely, through Leparo or Morgan, or through somebody else we haven't found out about yet. So get a line on things in general, on anyone who may look suspicious. Oh, and if you're riding a truck that gets held up, don't try to shoot it out, Scubby. Just let things ride.
We'll see about that when the time comes.
It's a 40-1 shot against your getting stopped, but just the same, watch your step. These men, whoever they are, have 2 murders on their head, and they won't balk at a couple more.
Men looking for jobs, line up over here. New men over here.
Hey, buddy, who's the guy over there at the desk? Oh, that's Al Leparo, the fleet foreman. Oh, that's the guy. Looks like a tough egg.
Don't worry, fella. He ain't turning nobody down these days. This outfit's got the finger on it. They had 40 men walk out on him yesterday. And I got a hunch this new gang ain't gonna last long either.
Oh, you mean on account of the killings the other day?
Yeah, that and the beating up of a couple of other drivers.
Recently?
Yeah, night before last.
Hey, that ain't so good, is it?
Ah, what's the difference? A job, ain't it?
Hey, who's the other guy?
Huh? Oh, that's Dave Morgan, old man Tate's assistant.
All right. Report to the garage at once. Next?
Mike Clausen's the name, Mr. Leparo. Here are me papers.
Mm-hmm. You worked here before, ain't you?
Sure. I drove for you
Yeah,
about...
never mind that. You ain't working here no more. Right, Morgan?
Right, Leparo. Nothing doing on that guy.
Oh, but what's the matter? I got a good record. I ain't never had no trouble.
Maybe not, but you ain't wanted here. Get out. Next.
Ah, the big farmer.
Who's next?
Oh, me. The name's Wilson.
Where's your papers?
Oh, yeah. Here.
Mm-hmm. Wilson, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, you're hired. Report to Matt Steiger on truck number 11. You start as helper at $23 a week. Satisfied?
Sure, boss. Okay by me.
Tell Steiger he picks up his load tonight at Freeman's Farm down South Jersey. He knows where it is. Get going.
Right. Thanks.
So they took you on, did they, Scubby? I thought they would.
Yes. I'm phoning from a lunchroom where I just ate.
Anything happened yet?
Well, just before they gave me a job, an old-timer named Mike Clausen was turned down. He used to work for Tate years ago. But Leparo wouldn't take him back.
I see. Maybe they didn't want to take on anyone who ever worked there before, or who has been there for long.
Well, maybe it doesn't mean anything, Nick, but it looks as if the...
What's the trouble, Scubby?
I'm not sure, Nick. But I just realized the guy in the booth next to me here isn't saying a word. He went into his booth as I came into this one. But he hasn't dialed a number or said anything yet.
Looks as if somebody's onto you already. Any idea who it could be?
No idea at all. Oh, but how could anybody know about me so soon?
There's always a chance that somebody's recognized you. Well, keep your eyes open, Scubby. Don't start anything.
Any orders?
No. Let me know at once if anything worthwhile happens. And good luck to you.
Thanks. Hey, what are you going to be doing?
I have several lines of investigation that I want to follow up here in the city. There are certain angles of this case that I want to clear up here before I do anything else. So long, Scubby. See you soon. I hope.
Gosh, Matt, driving one of these trucks is no cinch, is it?
How do you mean, kid?
Well, I've been driving the truck around in the city, and it ain't been like this at all. We spent the afternoon loading the stuff on the truck. Now we got to spend all night riding it back to town.
You don't like it, huh?
I'm beginning to think it wasn't such a bright idea, hiring on with this Tate outfit. Especially with a chance of getting beat up throwing in free.
Ah, cheer up. You might ride for weeks and never get stopped at all.
Gosh, this is a lonely section of the country, ain't it? Nothing but these scrub pines both sides of the road.
That's right.
Hey, I'm getting tired, Matt. You know, it's been a long time since I done so much weight. Mind if I take a little nap?
Ah, go ahead. It's about 1 o'clock now. I'll drive till 3, then you can take over. We'll be out in the main road by then.
Okay. Call me if you need me.
Yeah, sure, kid.
Hey, what's the matter? What you stopping for?
Somebody is signaling us with a flashlight to stop. I wonder what...
No, don't stop, Matt. It may be a holdup. Remember old man Tate's orders? No truck stop for nothing.
Oh, it's the state troopers. Nothing to worry about.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I can see the uniform now. Okay. I'll get out and see what he wants. Hey, what's the matter, officer? What... Hey, That's our phony uniform. You're no regular cop.
This is a guy, all right. One of you fellas take care of the driver.
Look out, Matt!
Come down out of that cab, fella, if you know what's good for you.
Matt, it's a trap!
Shut up, Dick, and don't move. I got you covered. Now, don't try to pull it.
No!
Hey, quit that. Cut it out.
There, that takes care of you, you rat. Now for the other.
Here you are, copper.
Oh! Matt! Matt!
Not out yet. Here.
Oh.
You won't do no more fighting for a while. Okay, boys, come on.
Gosh, I'm tired, Betsy. I've done more of my own leg work today than I've done in years. I almost wish I'd kept Scubby here to do the walking around. And gone out on the truck myself.
Did you find out anything, Nick?
Yes, Patsy, I think so. But I can't be sure for a little while yet. Not until I get some more answers to some of the thousands of questions I've asked today.
There have been several messages for you. I think this is probably the only one that's really important. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I thought so. He's trying to borrow money. At least all that much of it. Makes me positive I'm on the right track. Any report from the state troopers, Patsy?
Yes, they think they've located the place. They're going to call you later this evening when they get the details.
Good. That'll give me time to join them before they make the raid. I don't want to miss being in at the kill.
No. Hey. Oh. You awake, Wilson?
Yeah. Oh, who are you?
Matt Steiger, your driver.
Oh, yeah, I remember now. They stopped us. I tried to fight, and they knocked me out. How about you?
Yeah, they conked me, too.
Yeah.
I wonder why they didn't shoot us and be done with it.
Yeah, I wonder. Hey, where are we now? You any idea?
No, but I seem to remember taking a long ride last night after we left the truck. I wonder what time it is.
I don't know. It's still dark, though.
Yeah. Hey, Wilson, I've been wondering. I heard one of them thugs call you Dick and Copper when they were scrapping with you. Are you Copper?
Well, kind of one, yeah. Just trying to get a line on what's going on in this Tate outfit.
Yeah?
But how in heck did that guy know it was me?
Did Tate know what you are?
No. Nobody knew about me working for Tate but me and my boss. Hey, wait a minute.
What?
Right after I got the job, I phoned my boss, and somebody in the next phone booth overheard what I told him. Boy, they trapped me neat as you please.
They probably was afraid of you.
Looks like it. Well, the first thing to do is to get out of here.
Well, I've been working at the ropes that I got my hands tied together with, and I can't budge them at all. They're too tight for me.
Well, I think maybe I can get mine loose if I have time. I think my boss taught me several tricks to get out of ropes like this.
Yeah? Guess you'll have to get us out of this one, then. I can't.
Hold it, Matt.
Yeah.
Somebody's coming.
Time we got that red-headed punk waked up. Boss is due any minute now.
With pleasure. Come on, you. Leave me assist you to a chair. Sorry you can't walk by yourself tied up like that, but that wouldn't be etiquette.
Come on. Cut the comedy.
Wake up, you. Come on, Copper. Get them eyes open.
Oh, hey. Hey, what's the matter? Hey, what you trying to do?
There you are, Mike. You want me to soften him up for you?
Let's see if he talks first. Maybe he'll talk without any persuading.
Well, okay, but I hope he needs some waking over. I enjoy that.
All right, punk. You gonna talk?
Talk about what?
There's no use stalling him. We know you're Nick Carter's man.
Well, if you know that, what you want me to say?
We know you called Carter yesterday before you left New York. What'd you say to him? What'd you tell him?
Hey, I know you.
Huh?
You're the guy who wore the phony state trooper's uniform when you held us up last night.
Yeah? Well, knowing that ain't gonna help you none.
Ooh! Ow!
Come on, spill it. How much do you know?
Okay, he ain't gonna talk, Mike. It's gotta be a real job. I gotta go to work on him.
Yeah, I guess you're right, Jake.
Oh.
Go ahead, make it good.
Sure. Oh, let me take my coat off first so I don't feel cramped.
Let me have it. I'll put it on the back of the chair.
Thanks, Mike. Oh, you better put my gun in the pocket of my coat so it won't get in my way when I really get going.
Okay. Now, let's see some action.
All right, you red-headed stool pigeon. Now spill it. Spill it all or I'll... What the...
Come on, Jake. There's trouble out there.
Well, that's a funny one. Matt, do you see what I see? What do you mean? Jake left his coat hanging on the back of that chair there. There's a gun in the pocket of that coat. Oh, boy, what a break if we can only get loose.
Just a minute. My hands are almost free.
Good.
Wait a minute. There. Now, get the feet loose. There. Yeah, that does it. Now the gun. Now let him come back.
Hey, what's...
Drop that gun, you're covered.
Oh, yeah? Well, this'll show you.
How you would you? Here.
Oh, you killed me. You killed me.
You got him, Wilson. Get me loose and I'll give you a hand. They'll be back in here.
Right, but the gun is empty. Gee, we're in a spot.
He killed the boss. Come on.
Yeah, the boss is dead. I'm getting
What's
out
that?
of here.
Yeah, let's
Wait a minute.
get going.
Listen, Wilson. Listen. They're leaving.
Yeah. Wait a minute. There you are, Matt.
Oh, gee. Thanks, Wilson. Gosh, am I glad to get out of them ropes.
Hey, Matt, this is the screwiest thing I ever heard of.
Yeah. Why do you suppose they beat it off like that?
You got me. But come on, let's get out of this place. They might come back as fast as they went out.
Yeah. Okay, give me a chair. I'll break this door down for you.
Okay. Gosh, Matt. There he is on the floor, the boss. And 2 holes through his forehead.
You sure hit him square in the bullseye.
Wait till I take off his mask and see if I know... Matt. What? It's Mr. Tate. Who? The owner of the trucking company.
Mr. Tate?
Yeah.
Tate racketeering his own business? Attacking his own trucks?
But that doesn't make sense, Matt.
Boy, I'll say it doesn't. Why should he want to destroy his own business?
And why would he ask Nick to investigate the... Hey, we gotta get out of here.
Yeah.
Or we're gonna get our...
Maybe some more of them in there.
Can you see him?
Yeah. Oh, they're state troopers.
Oh,
it's
boy.
okay, Matt.
Open up in there. Come on with your hands up. Come on, you're surrounded and outnumbered.
Don't shoot. We're coming out.
Get that door open before they shoot.
We surrender.
Get your hands up. I got 2 here, men. What's the back of the house? Right, Sergeant.
Oh, gosh, are we glad to see you.
Yeah, keep your hands up.
Oh, yeah, sure. Look, I'm Scubby Wilson, and this is Matt Steiger. I'm Nick Carter's assistant.
You look it. Who's the dead man lying there?
Oh, that's Mr. Tate. I just shot him.
Oh, you did? Well, that'll send you to the chair, all right.
Oh, no. No, you don't understand. He's the chief of the hijackers. Well, he was holding us prisoners here.
That's a good one. Where's the gun you killed him with?
Well, it's in the other room.
Keep your hands up.
But, officer, you don't understand.
I suppose you're going to tell me you shot him in self-defense, huh?
Yeah. That's just what I did. Well, look, you can ask Matt here.
That's right, officer. He was going to kill us both.
Yeah.
Sure. Where's the gun he was going to kill you with?
Well, it was in his hand when I saw it last.
Well, it ain't here now. You're a bum liar, feller. I suppose that after you shot him between the eyes, killing him instantly, he walked over to the window, threw his gun away, and then came back here, lay down, and died.
Oh, but gosh, officer, I saw him.
Put your hands out.
Huh? What?
Put your hands out.
How about you can't put handcuffs on me?
No? Watch me.
Be sure they're on good and tight, Sergeant.
I will, that.
Nick!
Oh, hello, Scubby. Having a good time?
You know this guy, Mr. Carter?
Does he know me? Oh, tell him who I am, Nick.
Yes, Sergeant, I'm afraid I have to confess that I do know him. He's my assistant, although he hasn't been much of assistance in this case.
Shall I let him go, then?
Yes, I'll take charge of him.
Okay, if you say so.
Oh, gosh, Nick, am I glad to see you. Oh, this is Matt Steiger, the guy who was driving the truck I was on.
Hello, Mr. Carter.
Glad to know you.
Hey, look, I heard some shooting a few minutes ago. Did you get some of the gang?
Yes, Scubby. Morgan and 4 men. We ran that car off the road and caught them all. Morgan's pretty badly wounded, but he'll pull through.
So Morgan was in on it after all.
Morgan was the head of the gang.
Oh, no. No, Morgan wasn't the head of the gang, Nick. The head of the gang is lying there, dead. And I shot him. Put 2 bullets in him in self-defense.
Who is he? You know him?
Know him. It's Mr. Tate.
Mr. Tate?
Well, he had nothing to do with this.
He sure did, Nick. Why, he was holding us prisoners here. Sure, Matt can tell you.
That's true, Mr. Carter. He tried to kill Wilson, and Wilson shot him.
I tell you, Tate had nothing to do with this gang, Scubby.
Oh, what makes you so sure, Nick?
I did a lot of investigating in town today, and I found that Morgan has been trying to borrow money anywhere and everywhere he could to take advantage of what he called a chance to get going a good business, dirt cheap. Well, that obviously meant Tate's business, especially since the $40 a truck the racketeers asked was unquestionably intended to drive Tate out of business rather than to get the money out of him.
But Morgan was one of the drivers who got beaten up, Nick.
Who said so? Morgan. Nobody else knew anything about it, and it gave him a swell alibi. I think that Regan, the driver who was killed the other day, probably was shot because he recognized Morgan.
But, Nick, everything you say about Morgan could have been true of Tate just as well.
Not quite, Scubby. I found out several other things during my investigation today that proved definitely that Morgan's the one.
But, Nick, I shot Tate not 5 minutes ago while he was trying to kill me.
I wonder. Huh. You shot him 5 minutes ago. How does it happen that he's been dead for at least 3 hours?
Dead for 3 hours?
No question about it. Rigor mortis has already begun to set in. Scubby, somebody's put one over on you.
Well, what do you mean, Nick?
Where's the gun you shot him with?
Oh, the trooper took it.
Yeah, that's right. Here it is, Mr. Carter.
Thanks. Mm-hmm. Look here. How does it happen that you shot him with blank cartridges?
Oh, Nick, now don't
Now,
tell
here
me...
are the shells I just took out of that gun you used. 4 of them have been fired previously. And you can see that the other 2, the 2 left for you to fire, have had the bullets pried out of them. Now, you see the mark on the edge of the shell?
Yeah.
So you couldn't have shot him.
But, Mr. Carter, I saw Wilson plug him. I saw him falling dead as the door closed behind him. There's no question about it.
There's no question but what you thought you saw that. But it was all planned, just that way.
Planned?
Certainly. How come you were able to get out of the ropes you were tied up with so fast? How come there was nobody in the room when you got hold of the gun? Why do you suppose that gun was left where you could get your hands on it? That is what happened, isn't it?
Yes, Nick. As right as if you'd been here to see it.
It couldn't have been any other way. Tate probably had a hunch Morgan was guilty and trailed him here. Morgan caught him, shot him with his gun. Then he wiped his prints off it, and he planted it where you could get at it. Then at the psychological moment, Morgan, with a mask over his face, opened the door so you could see him, and shot at you. Then you shot at him, as he knew you would, using the 2 shells he had left in the gun for you. The 2 shells with no bullets in them. Then he pretended to fall dead, carefully shutting the door as he did so that you couldn't see what happened next.
Oh, I see, Nick. And then he put Tate's body there by the door with a mask over his face.
Right.
Gosh.
When you opened the door, there was Tate's body, shot through the head with the very gun you held in your hand. A gun in which the police would find your fingerprints, and yours only. Morgan would have made sure they found it.
Boy, what a setup.
It was perfect. Matt would have had to swear he saw me do it. And I was so completely fooled that... Why, I would have confessed to the murder in any court in the country.
Yes, Scubby. You still trust too much to what you hear and see. Before you can be a really first-class detective, you'll have to learn to distrust everything until you've analyzed it in the light of all the evidence.
This has been another of the strange adventures of Nick Carter, Master Detective, which are brought to you regularly at this time by WOR Mutual. Well, Nick, what about next week's story? Can you give us a hint?
Next week, my story concerns a murderer who killed his victims according to the sign of the zodiac under which they were born.
A very unpleasant and dangerous man, I might add.
Yes, definitely. Patsy and I got so close on his trail that he tried 2 different times to get rid of us.
But in his attempts to be very clever, he made a bad mistake, and Nick caught him.
And caught the murderer, too, I imagine.
Quite right. After a chase. I call the story The Horoscope Murders. So long. See you next week.
So long.
So long to you, Nick and Patsy. In the strange adventure you have just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate, Scubby by John Kane. Original music was played by Lou White. The entire production was written and directed by Jock McGregor. Next week at the same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
The Horoscope Murders. For Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Avenging Astrologer.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Saturday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern War Time. And don't forget that the adventures of Nick Carter's adopted son, Chick Carter, are broadcast over most of these stations Mondays through Fridays at 5:30 p.m. Eastern War Time. This is Mutual.
What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction. Nick Carter, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure,
The Unwilling Accomplice. For Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Society Burglar.
Hello, Lieutenant. What's new and interesting?
Well, if it ain't my old friend Nicholas Carter. Him that used to be a detective.
Yeah, what do you mean, used to be?
Sure, my boy, tell me. How does it feel to be old and retired?
Oh, come now, Riley. I get it. You're a little peeved because I've turned down those few cases you've offered me lately.
It's not a few separate cases, Nick. It's all been the same gang, I'm sure of it. They're the slickest bunch this department's ever been up against. We need your help, Nick. Look at this. Came over the wire only this morning.
Another society robbery. Quite a haul.
Yes, my boy, quite a haul. $75,000 in gems right out of the vault. What do you say now, Nick?
Riley, I think you're right. Looks like the same hand in every job.
Well?
Well, I suggest that for your criminal, you look for someone who's accepted in the homes of society. And is just about the greatest safecracker in the country as well.
Oh, thank you, Nick. That's a very great help, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sorry, Riley, but really, I'm not interested. You know I don't take a case unless...
Well, what in the name
Wow, that was close. That stone missed you by inches.
So, somebody's trying to bean me now, is it? Well, I'll fix that.
Now, wait a minute, Riley. That isn't it. This seems to be a little matter of communication.
Communication?
Yes, look. There's a note tied to that stone.
Well, now, hand that over here.
Here you are.
Let's see what is it? Well, listen to this, Nick. My dear Lieutenant Riley, since the jobs I have pulled off lately have so completely mystified your department, may I suggest that you call upon the services of your very good and able friend, Nicholas Carter.
What's that?
It won't help much, of course, but at least I'll then have an adversary more worthy of my talents. You see, I'm varying the pattern and going on to much bigger things. Today it has been the National Loan and Trust Company. It is not only theft, but murder as well. Well, Nick, what do you make of that?
Very interesting.
Interesting, is it? Why, the cheek of him. The National Loan and Trust Company, he says. And murder, he says. We're dealing with a conceited maniac. Give me that phone. I'm going to check up on this.
Unless it's now 5:30 on Saturday afternoon, Riley. I doubt that you'll find anyone at the bank.
Excuse me, Lieutenant.
Yeah?
There's a lady and gentleman here to see you. They say it's most urgent.
Well, what are you waiting for? Show 'em in.
Yes, sir. This way, please.
Thank you.
Lieutenant Riley?
Yes?
Permit me to introduce myself. I'm Butler Pierce, and this is Miss Olive Belden, my fiancée.
I'm pleased to make your acquaintance. Now, what can I be doing for you?
You can help us find Miss Belden's father. He's missing.
Oh, missing, huh?
Yes, Lieutenant. Dad's been gone for hours, and I'm beginning to fear something dreadful may have happened.
Oh, excuse me. This is Nick Carter, Miss Belden, and Mr. Pierce.
Nick Carter, the detective?
The same, Miss Belden.
Oh, I'm so glad, Mr. Carter. Would you, I mean...
Isn't your alarm somewhat unwarranted? Your father hasn't been missing very long, I take it.
That's true, Mr. Carter. Only 3 hours to be exact, but under the circumstances...
What Miss Belden means, Mr. Carter, is that it seems as if her father had disappeared into thin air.
How do you mean, Mr. Pierce?
Well, the last time she saw him, it was through the living room window. From there, she could look out over the court into his private office at the bank. And when
The bank? Did you say bank, Mr. Pierce?
Why, yes. Olive's father is Wayne Belden, president of the National Loan and Trust Company.
Did you hear that, Nick? The National Loan and Trust Company.
Yes, Riley. There's not a minute to be lost. Come on. Now, let me get this straight, Miss Belden. You say your father came into his private office here through that special passageway that leads from the house to the bank.
That's right, Mr. Carter. Father often spent Saturday afternoons here writing letters.
I see. And there was no one else in the bank at that time?
No, this is Saturday, you know, and it was after banking hours, of course.
When was the last time you saw your father?
About 1 o'clock, Mr. Carter. He was sitting at his desk here writing a letter. But when I looked through the window again a few hours later, he wasn't there.
You're sure he hadn't returned to the house?
Positive. I'd have seen him. The passageway opens right into the living room where I was reading.
Well, what happened when you looked for him and he wasn't there?
Well, just about then, Mr. Pierce called on me. I told him about Father's absence, and we both went to look for him.
I see. About what time was that?
Oh, about 4 o'clock.
Mm-hmm. And so you both went into the bank as soon as you missed your father?
Yes. We found Mr. Belden's office just as you see it now. Then we looked all through the bank. There wasn't a sign of him anywhere.
Now, wait a minute, all of you. What was to prevent Mr. Belden from walking right out the front door of the bank? As easy as that.
Well, that's not very likely, Lieutenant. He was wearing his house slippers at the time, and he had no coat or hat.
Oh. And not only that, Riley. You see this letter here on Belden's desk?
Huh?
He was writing it when something interrupted him. You notice anything peculiar about it?
Well, no, except that he broke off in the middle of a sentence.
More important than that, Riley. He stopped in the middle of a word. Belden was interrupted very abruptly.
Oh, that must be the cashier now. Hello, Mr. Cook. Come in.
Hello, Miss Belden. I got here just as soon as I could.
This is Mr. Carter and Lieutenant Riley.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. Now, what's all this I hear about Mr. Belden disappearing?
That's right, Mr. Cook. But I've an idea he'll soon be found.
What do you mean by that, Mr. Carter?
I've asked Mr. Cook to come down here because, as the cashier of the bank, he's the only one beside Mr. Belden who knows the combination to the large vault. And I want that vault opened. Immediately.
But that's impossible, Mr. Carter. The large vault operates on a time lock. It can't be opened until 9 o'clock Monday morning.
We can't wait that long. It must be open now.
I'm sorry, Mr. Carter. That's impossible.
Then I'll do it myself.
But it's impossible, I tell you.
Give me 1 hour and we'll see how impossible it is.
You don't seem to be having much luck, do you, Mr. Carter?
Don't you worry about that, Mr. Pierce. I never saw the lock yet that could keep its secrets from Nick Carter very long.
Not that kind of luck, Lieutenant. Why, there isn't anybody in the world that could... By heavens, he did it.
There we are, gentlemen.
I told you so, Pierce.
Riley.
Huh?
Look there.
Yeah, what is it, Nick?
There in the corner.
His father!
Yes, Miss Belden. Your father's been murdered. How's Miss Belden, Riley?
Oh, she's all right now, Nick. Mr. Pierce took her back to the house.
Good. Well, Mr. Cook, have you finished examining the contents of the vault?
Yes, Mr. Carter, and you were right. There has been a robbery. $50,000 is missing.
Well, I'll be just as the note said, Nick. Remember? Theft and murder.
Yes, Riley. But the theft, I'm sure, was just an afterthought. Mr. Cook, did Mr. Belden have any enemies?
Why, not that I know of.
What can you tell me about Mr. Pierce?
What do you mean?
Well, was he friendly with Mr. Belden?
Oh, yes, quite. They were very good friends. They'd known each other for years.
And was Mr. Pierce in the habit of visiting Mr. Belden in his office at the bank?
Oh, yes, very often. He had an account here, rather large one, I might add. Mr. Pierce, you know, is a very wealthy man.
Oh, indeed?
Yes, sir.
Hey, what's that you've got in your hand there, Nick?
Oh, this. It's part of a cufflink, Riley, with a very interesting stain on it. A fresh blood stain.
Well, where'd you find it, Nick?
In the dead man's hand.
But there was no blood on the body. He was done in by a crack on the skull. There was no bleeding.
Exactly, Riley. It's undoubtedly the murderer's own blood. Probably tore his hand on the broken edge of the cufflink in the scuffle.
Do you want me for anything else, Mr. Carter?
Oh, no, thank you, Mr. Cook. That'll be all.
Well, good day.
Good day, sir. Oh, Mr. Cook, one more thing.
Yes?
Tell me, is Mr. Pierce in the habit of wearing his gloves indoors?
His gloves? Why, no, never. But, wait. Come to think of it, he was wearing them just now. Wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Well, thank you, Mr. Cook. Thank you very much. Confounded, Patsy, this is the strangest case I've ever worked on.
Well, you've certainly been acting strangely, Nick. Pacing up and down, muttering to yourself.
There just isn't a shred of evidence anywhere, Patsy. As far as I can see, no motive whatsoever. Yet I'm positive that Butler Pierce is our man, that he's not only the murderer of Wayne Belden, but is also the society robber that's been baffling the police for months now.
But, Nick, he's a rich man. And Wayne Belden was one of his best friends.
I know, Patsy, but it still adds up to Butler Pierce. Look, he was thoroughly familiar with the bank, thoroughly familiar with Wayne Belden's habits. He called at the Belden house after the crime had been committed. He wore his gloves indoors, which might have been to conceal a bad scratch from a broken cufflink. He arrived at police headquarters immediately after that stone had been thrown through the window.
But, Nick, Miss Belden was with him when he called to see Riley. Surely you don't think he could have thrown that stone?
No, Patsy. But his chauffeur could have. While they were entering the building.
His chauffeur?
Yes. It was he who set me thinking on this line originally.
Well, what do you mean by that?
Patsy, I got a good look at that chauffeur. And I'm sure I've seen him somewhere before. A long time ago.
Oh.
And he wasn't on the right side of the law either.
Well, it all sounds like a big hunch to me, Nick.
Yes, you're right, Patsy. It's just what it is. A big hunch.
Although I have to admit your hunches are usually pretty good.
Patsy, I feel so sure this hunch is right, I'm going to play it for all it's worth.
Oh, what are you going to do?
I'm going to start playing it right now. Get Scubby for me. We're going calling on Mr. Butler Pierce.
You're taking a long time opening that safe, Nick.
Well, it's a tough baby, Scubby. But I've almost got it now.
Well, I sure hope so, Nick. I don't think Mr. Pierce would like to come home and find us here in his library.
Well, at this stage, I grant you, that would be a trifle embarrassing. But when I get through... I did it. Now, let's see what we have here. No, not there. Scubby, look at this.
Why, it's full of jewelry. And it's the real stuff.
Yes. Unless I miss my bet, every piece of it will answer the description of some stolen gem. Well, let's see what else now.
Uh-oh. What's that, Nick?
What does it look like?
It looks like a package of bills, and all big ones, too.
Exactly what it is, Scubby. Let's see how much. 5, 10...
Boy, look at those $1,000 bills.
20, 30, 40, 45, $50,000, Scubby, the exact amount stolen from the bank.
Well, of course, it could be a coincidence, Nick.
Yes, it could be, but I doubt it. This does it. Scubby, we don't have to speculate any further.
No?
This letter I found in the drawer here clears up everything. Listen to this.
Yeah.
Dear Butler, this is a warning to you to permit you to escape if you care to do so. I have definite proof that you're a thief, and on Monday morning I shall place that proof before the proper authorities. You have until that time to escape. Signed, Wayne Belden.
Gosh, Nick.
Yes, Scubby, gosh. And there we have the motive for Wayne Belden's murder.
So your hunch was right after all, Nick. The rich Mr. Pierce is nothing but a thief.
And a murderer, Scubby.
Oh, well, look, Nick, you better get out of here.
Scubby, it just came to me.
What?
Butler Pierce's chauffeur is really Jim Martin. I knew I'd seen him before.
Jim Martin? I never heard of him, Nick.
No, that was before your time.
Oh.
I tangled with him many years ago on the West Coast. One of the cleverest cracksmen in the business. He could open almost any safe I could.
Oh, so that's it. He and Pierce have been working together.
Yes. Pierce was the front and real brains, while Martin supplied the technical skills, so to speak.
Oh, I see. Well, what now, Nick?
Scubby?
Yeah?
I want you to clear out of here quick. Take Wayne Belden's letter with you.
Mm-hmm.
Get it to Lieutenant Riley immediately and tell him to pick up Jim Martin.
Oh, well, what about Butler Pierce?
Don't you worry about him, Scubby. I'm staying right here. I want to tackle Butler Pierce myself. Good evening.
Nick Carter. What are you doing in my house?
Waiting for you, Mr. Pierce.
What do you want?
I want you to be reasonable and not make any fuss. This isn't the water pistol I've got in my hand.
Have you gone mad? What in the world are you talking about?
It's no go, Pierce. You can drop the act. I took the liberty of going through your safe.
Oh, so that's it. You're pretty clever at getting into safes, aren't you?
Yes. As good at it as your pal, Jim Martin.
Oh, I see.
Well, I guess I underrated you, Carter.
No, Pierce. You overrated yourself.
Perhaps. What's your next move?
My next move is to turn over to the law a thief and a murderer. Turn around. Get your hands behind you. Uh-huh. So there is a scratch on your wrist, just as I expected. There. Guess those handcuffs ought to hold you for a while. Sit down on that chair. And stay there.
Police headquarters. Lieutenant Riley speaking.
Oh, hello, Riley. This is Nick.
Oh, yes, Nick. What is it?
Riley, I got the murderer of Wayne Belden for you.
Oh, you have, eh?
Mhm.
Good work. Who is it, Nick?
Butler Pierce.
Butler Pierce. Nick, are you sure you're not making a mistake?
Quite sure. Scubby should be at my headquarters any minute now with all the proof you want.
Where are you calling from, Nick?
From Pierce's home. He's sitting in a chair right behind me with a pair of handcuffs on him.
Oh.
I'll expect you to...
Nick, what is it? Hello! Hello!
Nick. Oh, Nick, are you all right?
He's coming to now, Patsy.
How do you feel, Nick?
Oh, I'm all right, I guess. Oh, brother, my head.
Yeah, that was a nasty bump you got, my boy.
Oh, take it easy, Nick. Here, give me your hand.
I'll
help you up.
you go, Nick.
There, easy.
All right,
So
now.
sorry.
Can you stand up all right, boy?
Yeah, I guess I'm okay now.
Well, what happened?
Your guess is as good as mine, Patsy. All I know is that I had Butler Pierce in my hands, and now he's gone.
That's too bad, Nick.
Hey, look at the safe. It's empty.
Well, naturally it would be. You couldn't leave all that evidence lying around.
Well, it's a good thing we got that letter at least.
Yes, but the important thing is to find Pierce.
He must be pretty clever, Nick, getting away from you like that.
Yes, Patsy. He's all of that and more. He got away this time, but I'll bring him to justice if it's the last thing I ever do.
Well, Nick, we got Jim Martin anyway. Picked him up late last night.
Good work, Riley. Well, that's half the gang anyway.
Yeah, now if we only had Butler Pierce.
Yes, but I think it's going to be a lot easier now with Jim Martin in our hands.
What do you mean?
Got an idea, Riley. If it works, it won't be long before we catch up with Wayne Belden's murderer. Well, Martin, we meet again.
Yeah. Been a long time, ain't it, Carter?
Yes. But I never forget a face, Martin, no matter how much has been changed. I must say, though, that the doctor did a pretty good job on you. But it just isn't quite good enough.
Yeah, you're a smart egg, all right. I guess the boss knows that by now.
He's a pretty keen one himself, Martin. I had him, but he got away.
Did, huh?
Mm-hmm.
Boy, he sure is a slick one.
Well, I thought when I had the cuffs on him...
Say, you didn't make the mistake of trying to hold him with a pair of handcuffs, did you?
Yes. Why?
There ain't a pair made that could hold Butler Pierce. He's a regular whiz.
Maybe so. Martin, you're in a pretty tough spot. Murder's serious business.
Murder? Oh, no. You're barking up the wrong tree, Carter. I didn't have nothing to do with that.
But you did open the vault at the bank.
Sure. Like I done all the jobs for Pierce after he paved the way. But murder, that ain't my racket.
Maybe not. But it'll go a lot easier with you, Martin, if you play ball.
Meaning?
You know where Pierce's hideout is.
Sure. What about it?
We want you to help us put the finger on him.
Now, you ought to know me better than that, Carter.
That's what I thought you'd say. I have a proposition for you, Martin. If you help us track him down, we'll set you free.
The answer is still the same. I'm no stool pigeon.
Well, Martin, we're going to let you walk out of here anyway. What do you say to that?
I say it won't work, Carter.
What do you mean?
Listen, I'm onto your game. You're going to set me loose so you can tail me. Ain't that it? Because that's the last thing I'd ever do. And I'm telling you that right now.
And yet, Martin, that's exactly what you're going to do. Lead us right to Butler Pierce.
You must be off your nut. I wouldn't even try to go near him. In fact, I'd do everything I could to throw you off.
I know that, Martin. And yet, in spite of yourself, You're going to help us catch Butler Pierce.
Clerk.
Yes, sir?
Any mail for me today? Name's Martin, James Martin.
Just a minute, I'll see. No, nothing, Mr. Martin.
Thanks.
Hello, Martin. You expecting a letter from someone?
Who are you?
I'll give you one guess. That ought to be enough.
Oh, you must be the guy that's following me.
One of the guys, Martin. I'm Scubby Wilson. I work with Nick Carter.
Ah, glad to see you. You know, I've been getting sort of anxious the last few days to know what you guys look like.
Yes, I can understand that. Must have been quite a strain on you, knowing that you were being watched every minute of the day and not knowing who was doing the watching.
Yeah, it was sort of getting me down a little.
Well, that's what Mr. Carter was figuring on, I guess.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of good it's going to do him.
You never know, Martin.
Say, I can't figure this thing at all.
Oh, you're not supposed to, Martin. No, you just keep on having a good time, that's all.
You bet I will. And as for Nick Carter, you can tell him from me, whatever his scheme is, it ain't working, see?
How do you know it isn't working?
I haven't led you to Pierce yet, have I, pal?
No, not yet. But you will.
You're nuts, too. You're all nuts. Good night.
Good night. Oh, but Martin, knowing Nick Carter as I do, I don't think we're the ones that are nuts.
Well, Nicky, you don't look like that little plan of yours is going to pay off, does it now?
Be patient, Riley. Just a question of time is all.
But Martin's been on the loose now for over 2 weeks. How much longer are we going to wait, Nick?
As long as necessary.
Oh, are we now?
Yes, Riley. You agreed.
Yeah.
I'm positive that what we're doing is the one sure way of getting on Pierce's trail.
It sure don't seem very positive to me.
You've got plainclothes men and detectives out looking for him, haven't you?
Well, sure. We set out a general alarm just as soon as Pierce got away from you.
Have they brought him in yet?
Well, no.
See what I mean? My way's slow, Riley, but it's sure.
Well, Nick, all I can say is I wish I was as sure of that as you are. If we don't get Pierce this way, they're going to laugh me right out of the department, using up valuable men and time just keeping an eye on his counter that should be behind bars this very second.
He will be, Riley. Just as soon as we get Pierce, too. They keep him company.
Police headquarters. Lieutenant Riley speaking. Yeah, he's here. For you, Nick. Yeah.
Thanks, Riley. Oh? Oh, yes, Scubby. Yeah? Oh, you did it. Okay, that's fine, Scubby. Good work. So long, Scubby. Well, Riley, it looks like this is it.
Yeah? What happened? Did Martin finally get in touch with Pierce?
No, Riley. It happened as I expected. The mountain came to Mohammed.
Huh? Who did what?
Unless I'm very much mistaken, Pierce has finally got in touch with Martin.
Who is it?
It's me, Jim.
Oh?
Don't you recognize my voice? Hello, Jimmy.
Whoa. Who are you?
May I come in?
Look, lady, I'm afraid there's some mistake. You got the wrong party.
There's no mistake, Martin.
Holy Mac, it's you, Pierce.
Yes, it's me.
Gosh, boss, I've seen most of your disguises, but this beats more. You really look like a woman.
Thanks.
Hey, you shouldn't have come here, though, boss. It's dangerous.
Yes, Martin, very dangerous. For you?
What do you mean, boss?
I don't like a squealer, Martin.
A squealer? Me? Hey, you got this all wrong.
Have I?
I never ratted on anyone, boss. I wouldn't start now.
Not even to save your own neck? You were in this thing as deep as I, you know.
Sure, I know that, but whatever gave you the idea I'd rat on you?
What gave me the idea?
Oh, I get it. You mean, why am I out of jail? Well, honest, boss, this wasn't my idea. Carter let me go. You see,
That's enough, Martin. Think I'm a fool? Let you go, huh? Just like that. Well, I won't be so generous, stool pigeon.
Hey, what are you doing, boss? No, you ain't gonna use that gat on me.
Guess again, squealer.
You're making a mistake, boss. Please, you gotta listen to me. Let me tell you how it happened.
No, Martin, you listen to me and I'll tell you. Carter didn't have a thing on me. Not a thing, do you understand?
Yeah, sure.
Then he spotted your ugly mug and put two and two together. I didn't think anybody'd recognize that pan of yours anymore, but somehow Carter did. So he had you picked up. And what he got out of you must have been plenty.
I swear to you.
Shut up. Why else would Carter have let you go?
I don't know.
I'll tell you why. Because you spilled the works, Martin. Spilled the works and got your freedom for it.
No, that ain't why they let me go. It was all a scheme they had.
What are you talking about?
Sure, boss. They told me they'd let me go if I steered them to the hideout. But I wouldn't do it. Not me.
No, so they let you out anyway.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, Squealer, I've heard enough.
No, boss, no.
Great shooting, Nick. You knocked the gun right out of his hand.
Nick Carter.
Yes, Mr. Butler Pierce. We meet again. You all right, Martin?
Yeah, I guess so, but you didn't get here any too soon.
Oh, so I was right, you rat. You were expecting
Relax, Pierce, relax. Martin wasn't expecting anyone. He played square with you right along.
Yes? Then what was he doing on the loose?
Just a temporary arrangement, Pierce. It was a trap we set for you. And you obliged us by walking right into it.
Very clever of you, Carter.
Not at all. You see, Mr. Pierce, I based my plan on the belief that at bottom you were not so clever.
Really? And how do you mean that?
Because instead of doing the really clever thing, getting as far away from here as you possibly could, I felt sure that your personal vanity would lead you to expose yourself to almost any risk in order to get the man you thought had betrayed you. All gangsters react that way.
You can hardly consider me a gangster, Mr. Carter.
At heart, that's exactly what you are. And that's what I counted on.
So you had it all figured out?
Yes. I also counted on your pal Martin doing exactly as he did. After we let him go, he laid low for a while. He was afraid of what we were going to do. But after a few days of that, he got bored doing nothing, just as I figured he would. Made a lot of money out of jobs you two did together, and now he wanted to spend some of it. So he stepped out, visited the high spots, stayed at a fine hotel.
So I heard.
Yes, I knew you would. Matter of fact, I counted on it. You figured we'd let him loose and had paid him well for squealing on you. Well, Pierce, you put two and two together all right, but you got the wrong answer. And the wrong answer you got is going to send you to the electric chair. It's the end of the road for you, Mr. Pierce.
Mr. Carter, I gotta take my hat off to you.
Really, Martin? And to what am I indebted for this great honor?
Well, you said I'd lead you to Pierce, and I said I wouldn't. And you made me do it. And you even knew what I was thinking all the time I did it.
Yes, Carter. You're cleverer than I thought you were.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm very happy. I can't say the same for you two.
This has been another of the strange adventures of Nick Carter, Master Detective, which are brought to you regularly at the same time each week by WOR Mutual. What's your story going to be next week, Nick?
Well, the title of the story that I want to tell you next week really gives you the clue to the whole thing. I call it The Corpse in the Cab.
Oh, you mean, I suppose, that you're going to tell us how the corpse got into the cab, who the corpse was, and so on. Is that the idea?
That's the idea, Mrs. Scott. But it's not nearly as simple as it sounds when you tell it. There were no clues on the corpse. No means of identification at all.
That isn't quite true, Patsy.
It would have been literally true if you hadn't been called in on the job. You know, Lieutenant Riley was completely stumped.
Yes, but I'm not sure just how little it takes to stump our friend Riley completely.
Anyway, Mr. Scott, if Nick hadn't been able to apply a little real deductive reasoning to the few bits of evidence he could find, the case would still be a mystery. I know that.
Well, Patsy, however that may be, I can assure you that next week's story will keep you guessing right to the very end. And until then, so long, folks.
So long, everybody.
And so long to you both, Nick and Patsy. In the strange adventure you have just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate, Scubby by John Kane. The story was written for Nick Carter by Ralph Berkey. Original music was played by Lou White. The entire production was under the direction of Jock McGregor. Next week at the same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
The Corpse in the Cab, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Murder in the Park.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Saturday evening at 7 o'clock Eastern War Time. And don't forget the adventures of Nick's adopted son, Chick Carter, are broadcast over most of these stations Monday through Friday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern War Time. This is Mutual.
What's the matter? What is it?
Another case for Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Yes, it's another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective. Tonight's curious adventure...
The Substitute Bride, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Night Ferry.
Here, take your hands off me. Now, what are you doing? Let me go. Put me down. No, stop it.
Nick, there's a young man here to see you. Says he's an old friend of yours.
Well, hello, Nick.
Ellen Marvin. Well, Ellen, it's good to see you again. And what brings you to this part of the country?
I came east to get married, Nick.
Well, congratulations.
Wait a minute. I'm afraid your congratulations are a little premature.
What's the matter?
I don't know. I can't find her.
Can't find her? Well, what on earth do you mean by that?
Well, look, it's like this, Nick. Alice Evans and I have been engaged for about 4 years. But for the past 3 years, she's been living in South America with friends of her family. She was due back in this country yesterday on the Gallia, so I came on from Chicago to meet her. Her boat got in ahead of schedule, and my train was late, so we missed connections. I'd already told her I was coming, but in spite of that, she was gone by the time I got to the dock last night.
Didn't she leave any message for you?
No, not a word.
That's odd.
And she has no friends in this part of the country that she could stay with.
Well, didn't anyone at the boat know where she went?
Well, apparently not, Nick. The stewardess says a boy brought her a note, and as soon as she read it, she got dressed and went ashore. There was a taxi waiting for her, and she went off in it. An hour later, an expressman called for her trunks.
Perhaps she went to a hotel.
Hotel? But, why should she do that when I told her that I'd meet her at the boat? No, Nick. Something has happened to her, I'm sure of it.
Nick, the morning paper says that there's a Miss Alice Evans registered at the Hamilton Park Hotel.
What's that?
Would that be the same girl?
Here, let me see that, will you? Quick.
Right here.
Well, and she did go to a hotel. Oh, gee, what a fool I was for worrying you, Nick.
I'll think nothing of it, Alan. Glad you found her.
Well, if you don't mind, Nick, I think I'll...
Sure, go right ahead. I know how anxious you are to see her.
Hey, look, Nick, why don't you come with me? I'd like very much to have you meet her.
Well, Alan, this seems hardly the time to...
Oh, come on. No, Nick, come on. I want you to meet her. You'll like her.
Well, all right, if you insist. But I've heard it said that three's usually a crowd, especially after two of them been separated for 3 years. Taxi! Taxi! Second and fifth driver. Well, Ellen, I gather that you feel that our visit to the young lady was not a complete success.
Nick, something's wrong. I don't know what.
So I noticed. That's why I stayed until you left.
I tell you, she's changed. I can't put my finger on it, but she's different somehow.
Well, 3 years is a long time, Alan. Some change would be quite natural.
Oh, but it isn't that kind of change, Nick.
Doesn't she look the same?
Yes, she does, and she doesn't.
You mean you don't think she is Alice Evans?
She must be, and yet...
Then you're not sure.
I wish her father were here. He'd know immediately whether she's his daughter or not.
Where is he? Chicago?
I don't know. He told me he was meeting the boat, but as far as I know, he hasn't shown up. She said she hadn't seen him.
Well, he probably was delayed in getting away.
Look, you don't suppose anything could have happened to him, do you? You know, like so many rich men, he always carried several $100s with him.
Well, it's possible, of course, Ellen. Was there anything distinctive about his appearance?
Well, he was a shortish man, stout, white hair. Oh, yeah, he wore old-fashioned side whiskers.
Well, those should make him easy to identify.
I'll have Lieutenant Riley get in touch with the Chicago police and see if they know anything about him.
Oh, good.
Then I'll have Patsy make the round of the hospitals here in town. I'll send Penny to the terminal and the ferries to see if he can pick up any information about him there.
Mm-hmm. Well, we ought to find out something that way.
And I think my next step will be to visit the Galliard or dock. See what I can learn there. The main reason I'm taking you to see Miss Evans, Purser, is that I want you to tell me whether or not she's the girl who made the trip up from South America with you.
I understand, sir.
Now, you, the purser of the Gallia, probably had as good a chance to see her as anyone.
Oh, why, yes, sir, but none of us saw her very much. She took ill right after we sailed and stayed in her room almost the entire trip.
But you say you'd be able to identify her positively.
Oh, yes, sir. I have an excellent memory for faces, and she was a real looker, she was.
Here's her hotel. Come on.
Righto, sir.
Here, we can take this elevator. 3, please. This is her floor. Her room's right across the corridor here.
Oh, come in, Mr. Carter.
Thank you, Miss Evans. You, of course, know this gentleman, Miss Evans?
Why, well, let me see.
Oh, it's hardly fair to expect her to remember me, Mr. Carter. She was so ill every time I saw her that I doubt if she'd ever really got a good look at me the whole voyage.
Oh, why, of course. Now I know who you are. You're one of the officers off the Gallia. We came up from South America together.
That's right, Mum. See, sir, she knows me right enough.
Oh, I knew I'd seen you somewhere. If I hadn't been so sick, I'd have remembered you at once.
I see. Well, Miss Evans, our call is really in the nature of business. The purser found a valuable lot of jewelry left behind in the ship, and I was called in to help find the owner. As it was near your cabin, we come to you first.
I haven't missed any of my jewels, but I'll let you know if I do.
Thank you. Have you had any word from your father yet?
No, not a word. Do you suppose anything's happened to him?
What did he look like, Miss Evans?
Why, he was... I'll show you his picture. You can tell better by that. Here you are, Mr. Carter. That's my father. Are you a detective?
Yes, Miss Evans. I am.
Then you must find him for me. I don't care what it costs.
Very well. I'll see what I can do. Shall we go, Purser?
Oh, yes, sir. Good day, miss, and good luck to you.
Goodbye, and thank you.
I'll let you know as soon as I learn anything, Miss Evans. Good day. Well, Purser, was that the Miss Evans who made the trip with you in the Gallia?
Oh, positively, sir. I'd know her anywhere.
You're sure?
There's no question whatever, sir. I'd swear to it on a stack of Bibles a foot high, I would.
I couldn't find a thing, Nick. There's nobody in the hospitals who answers to the description of Mr. Evans.
I hardly expected you'd find anything, Patsy. But we had to be sure.
Well, did the Chicago police know anything about him?
Riley said they had no report of anything having happened to him there. What did Penny find?
Well, Penny hasn't come in yet.
Oh, hey, Nick. I couldn't find any traces of the old boy at the terminal, but I did find something at the ferry.
What'd you find?
Oh, that'll keep, Nick. Right now, I got a taxi waiting outside, and the driver of the taxi's the fellow who took Alice Evans from the boat to the hotel last night, and he knows something.
How'd you find him?
Oh, the stewardess on the Gallia pointed him out to me. I'm afraid if I try to bring him in here, I'll scare him. I already asked him a lot of questions.
I'll go outside and talk to him myself. Oh, driver, I'm Nick Carter.
So what? I ain't interested.
But I am. I'm interested in what you can tell me about a young lady you picked up at the Gallia last night. You took her to the Hamilton Park Hotel, didn't you?
All right. So what if I did?
Look, you'll save yourself time and trouble if you'll answer my questions. You picked her up about 8 o'clock, didn't you?
Yeah, about that.
How long a drive is it to the hotel?
About a half hour. Maybe if the lights was against you, 45 minutes.
And how does it happen that you didn't register in at the hotel till nearly 10 o'clock?
Well,
Where'd you go between the time you left the Gallia and the time you reached the hotel?
I stopped over the house on 22nd Street for a while.
Did Miss Evans leave the cab?
Yeah. She said she wanted to see Winslow's daughter.
You said they went to school together.
You mean it was David Winslow's house you stopped at?
Yeah, I said so, didn't I?
Yes, you did. Thanks. Here. This'll pay you for what's on the meter and for the information.
Okay. So long.
Find out anything, Nick?
That depends, Patsy. Now, Penny, what was the dope you got at the ferry?
Well, it's like this, Nick. I found one of the ferry guards who remembered seeing an old guy with big white side whiskers get on the ferry about the time Evans' train must have got in from Chicago, see? Well, this guard got such a kick out of the whiskers that he watched for the old guy to get off the boat at the other side so he could get another gander at him.
And did he?
Nah, the old guy didn't get off.
What?
What?
Was you sure?
Sure. And the old guy wasn't on the boat anywhere.
Well, that would sound as if something might have happened to him during that ferry ride. Oh, Alan.
Nick, I've got some news. Mr. Evans was alive this morning.
Is that so? How do you know?
I'll tell you. I went to see Mr. Evans' banker this afternoon to see if he had any word from him. He showed me a check that Mr. Evans had made out this morning. A check for $50,000.
Dated this morning?
Mm-hmm. Yes. It was made out to John Smith and endorsed by David Winslow.
David Winslow? You're sure of that, Ellen?
Yes, I'm sure. Why, Nick?
Here's why. Last night, a girl who claims to be Alice Evans, but apparently isn't, stops off at Winslow's house on the way to the hotel.
Yeah?
Mr. Evans disappears last night, and yet a check made out by him this morning turns up endorsed by Winslow himself.
Hey, wait a minute. That does look suspicious.
Certainly does. Patsy, tomorrow morning, you and I are going to call on Mr. Winslow. Very good of you to see me, Mr. Winslow. I'm Nick Carter, the detective.
Yes, I've heard of you, Mr.
And
Carter.
This is Miss Bowen, my assistant.
How do you do,
Good
Miss
morning,
Bowen?
Mr. Winslow.
What can I do for you, Mr. Carter?
Mr. Winslow, do you know James Evans?
Only very slightly.
Are you acquainted with his daughter, Alice?
No, Mr. Carter, I'm not.
I see. Did a check of Mr. Evans recently pass through your hands?
Why, yes, it did. I cashed one of his checks yesterday.
Did you know that Mr. Evans disappeared the day before the date on
No,
that
I
check?
didn't.
Well, he did.
You don't say.
Would you be in a position to know if the signature on the check were a forgery?
Oh, the signature was genuine, all right. When Mr. Smith presented for payment a check in the amount of $50,000, I naturally sent the check to Mr. Evans' bank for verification. They said it was good, so I paid Smith the money.
I see. You said a few moments ago that you didn't know Alice Evans.
Yes, I did.
But didn't she call here night before last?
Why, yes, she did. She called to see my daughter. They were classmates at school. My daughter was not at home, so she talked to my wife for a while and left.
I thank you for your trouble, Mr. Winslow.
Not at all.
Come on, Patsy. Time we're running along.
Okay, Nick. Good morning, Mr. Winslow.
Good morning.
Good day, Mr. Winslow.
Good day to you, sir.
Patsy, I'd be tempted to believe what he said, even if I didn't know that he has an excellent reputation in banking circles here in town.
Well, what he told us certainly sounded straightforward enough to allay...
Hold it, Patsy.
Huh?
See that man going in the house next door?
Oh, yes. What about him, Nick?
I saw that man at court a few weeks ago, charged with murderous assault.
What?
And now we found him going into the house next door to Winslow's. Patsy, I want you to get back to the office immediately. Tell Penny to see what he can find out about that house. The address is 832 West 22nd Street.
Yes, Nick.
I want to know more about that place.
Talk plainer, Nick. What did you say that address was?
832 West 22nd Street, Riley.
Well, now, Nick, that's a curious thing. One of the boys picked up a bum this morning, and when we searched him, we found a slip of paper in his pocket with that same address on it.
Swell, Riley. Hold him. I'll be right down.
I don't know, I tell you. How many times I got to keep on saying that?
You don't know who pushed the man off the ferry, who kidnapped his daughter, where she is now, or anything about it?
No, I tell you, no.
Who's the girl who's staying at the Hamilton Park Hotel under the name of Evans?
Where's the Hamilton Park Hotel?
All right, Baker, all right. Guess I must have you all wrong.
I'll say you have.
You live at 832 West 22nd Street?
Well, I don't exactly... No.
Who does live there?
Oh, how should I know?
Where does David Winslow live?
Right next... Who's David Winslow?
Riley,
Yeah, Nick?
I'm through with Baker. not the fellow I thought he was.
All right, Baker. The guard's waiting for you just outside the door. He'll take you back to your cell.
Okay. I hope you're getting what you're looking for, Carter.
Well, Nick, what did you find?
Riley, Baker thought he told me nothing, but his answers weren't as clever as he thought they were.
Yeah?
Actually, he told me that Evans was thrown off the ferry into the river and that he was picked up in a rowboat which was waiting for him.
Well...
And I also discovered that he knows David Winslow and that he knows what goes on at 832 West 22nd Street.
Say.
All of which, while not conclusive evidence, tells me I'm on the right track.
Nice going, Nick. Well, what's next?
Riley, I want you to release this man Baker at once.
Well, release him, Nick. But why?
I want to be sure the rest of the gang knows I'm on their trail. The first thing Baker will do when he gets out of here will be to tell them. They'll undoubtedly make some move to try and stop me. And that may bring him out in the open. Penny, what'd you find out?
Well, I'll tell you, Nick. Whoever's running that gang's keeping it pretty secret. None of my old pals know anything about it. All I could find out is that the address is the hideout of what they call the Secret Six.
Yeah?
An ex-convict, they call the butler, takes care of the place during the day and keeps it cleaned up.
That would be the man Patsy and I saw. What about David Winslow?
Nobody connects his name with it nowhere.
He must be extremely clever, or I'm extremely much of a dope.
You're no dope, Nick. No. Hey, where's Patsy? She asked me to bring her back some peanuts.
Oh, she went to see that girl who's posing as Alice Evans at her hotel. Hey, wait. I didn't realize it was so late. She should have been back by now. Found this note at her desk when I came in about lunchtime.
Yeah. And dear Nick, girl who calls herself Alice Evans just called to say she had information on her father's disappearance. When I told her you weren't here, she asked me to go over and she'd give it to me and I could get it to you. We'll take a run over to the hotel and see what she wants. See you at the office when I get back, Patsy.
And that was almost 5 hours ago.
Say, look, should we go over there and have a look-see?
Well, first I'll phone Miss Evans. Hamilton Park Hotel. That's, Shermore, 32423.
Gee, if that bunch of crooks has tried anything on Patsy...
Hamilton Park Hotel. Good afternoon.
Miss Alice Evans, please.
Miss Evans, I'll connect you.
Thank you.
You know, I ain't known Patsy long, but she's a pretty swell kind of dame for...
I'm sorry, Miss Evans does not answer.
Thanks.
Nobody home?
No, Penny. And I don't like it. I think we better get going and... Wait a minute. Nicholas Carter's office.
Nick Carter?
Yeah? Who's this?
If you want to see your girlfriend Patsy again, Carter, keep out of the Evans case.
What do you mean?
If you make another move to try and find out what happened to old man Evans or his daughter, you can kiss your girlfriend goodbye. It'll be curtains for her.
But look, Nick, just because the Secret Six meets here doesn't mean that they'll be keeping Patsy a prisoner here.
I know that, Penny. But we saw a couple of members of the gang go in here a few minutes ago, didn't we?
Yeah, sure we did.
Well, if I can't make them tell me what they've done with Patsy, my name isn't Nick Carter.
Oh, whatever you say, Nick.
You say that man they call the butler is upstairs on the first floor now?
Yeah, he's writing in the back parlor.
Then let's get into the basement. Quick.
Oh, but the door's locked, Nick. It's got a special Townsend lock on it.
Now, that won't be the first door with a Townsend lock on it. My little pick lock is opened. There. Quiet now. Wonder where this door goes.
Oh, that leads into the basement of the house next door, Nick.
Then I'm right. That's the basement of the house where that banker Winslow lives. He is in on this.
Hey, Nick, sounds like somebody's coming down here.
You're right, Penny. Here, quick. There's a storage closet. Get in here. I'll leave the door open a crack so we can watch him. It's that butler, Penny.
You're not going to gag me again, are you?
That must be old man Evans.
What's that stuff you have there? Now, if you call that food, you can take it away.
Penny, if one of us stands on each side of that door, we can grab the butler when he comes out. But don't let him call out. Those other guys might hear him.
Well, whatever you say, Nick. Like this?
Go on.
That's
get
the
out
idea.
of here. Go on, get out.
Here he comes. Now. Good. All right, let's drag him into Evans' room. Here, quick. Now, Shut the door.
Okay.
What's this? What are you doing?
You're Mr. Evans, aren't you?
Yes, I
Well, I'm
am.
the detective, Nick Carter.
Oh, thank heavens.
You know where the other two men are that we saw come in here a little while ago?
They're probably in the room where the gang meets at the end of this hallway, sir.
Butler!
That's Winslow. Quick, Mr. Evans.
Yes?
What did this butler's voice sound like?
Why, very much like yours, except that he had a kind of dialect, no particular country, just foreign.
Butler! Confound it.
How does the
where
butler
are you?
address Winslow?
Just Senor Winslow, I
I
think,
see.
sir.
Yes, Senor Winslow. You call me?
I've called you several times. Where have you been?
I've been trying to find something in the back of the storage closet. You wish something, Senor?
Yes. When the boys come in for the meeting tonight, tell them not to leave until I get here, no matter what time it is. You understand?
But of course, they must not leave until you come. I will tell them.
All right, and don't forget.
Why, that was amazing, Mr. Carter. It was almost a perfect imitation.
All right, Penny. You better get this butler chap tied up and gagged before he comes to.
Well, whatever you say, Nick.
Mr. Evans.
Yes?
You know why you were kidnapped and brought here?
Why, yes, Mr. Carter. They want my fortune. I know they've kidnapped my daughter and substituted in her place a girl who looks enough like her to be her double. They plan to have her get possession of everything she can, sir.
Then they forced you to write that check for $50,000, didn't they?
Yes. But, Mr. Carter, do you know where my daughter is?
I'm sorry, Mr. Evans, I don't. But I expect to know very soon.
Oh.
Come on, Penny. Let's get down the hall and let those thugs tell us where Patsy is.
Whatever you say, Nick.
What do I do then, boy? Yeah, all right.
Hold it, Benny. I'll turn the knob on the door very gently. Then when I give the word, we'll rush them, just in case there may be more than two in there.
Whatever you say, Nick.
Easy now.
Yeah, all
right.
Get your hands up, all of you. What is it?
Oh, nice shooting, Nick. He should have known better than to pull a gun on you.
All right, you get up. Get sewn to your wrists, that's hurt. Come on, get up. Now drop your guns on the floor. Come on, let's have 'em. Now then. What have you crooks done with my assistant, Patsy? You heard what I said. What have you done with her?
We don't know nothing about her.
No? Well, maybe you don't know it, mister, but when I get mad, I can be dirty and mean, and somebody gets hurt. Now, where is she?
I tell you, we don't know anything.
Butler!
It's Winslow again. Penny, keep a gun on these two. If they open their mouths, let them have it and shoot to kill.
Butler, why don't you answer me?
Pardon, Senor. We are having a conference. We did not expect you until later. You are coming in here?
I just wanted to tell you that I don't expect to be
Put him up, Mr. Winslow. I'll do the telling from now on.
Why, what's the meaning of this, Mr. Carter? You can't...
Shut up. Where's Patsy?
Where's who?
You heard me. What have you done with my assistant, Patsy Boone?
I don't know anything
No.
about...
Where is she?
No, don't.
Where is she?
Don't. You'll break my arm. Stop.
For the last time, where is she?
Oh, stop it. Stop it. I'll tell you. Oh, my arm.
Well?
Oh, she's upstairs. Second floor, back bedroom.
Door locked, I suppose.
Oh, I'll get her, Nick. I took the butler's keys away from him.
Good boy, Penny. Make it snappy. I'll watch these 2-for-a-nickel thugs.
Yeah, whatever you say, Nick.
All right, Winslow. Get over against the wall with the rest of you cheap bums. And if you've hurt one single hair on Patsy's head, you'll be lucky if you live long enough for me to turn you over to the police.
She's all right. We did nothing to her at all.
Lucky for you. Tell me, Winslow, why'd you throw Evans off the ferry boat? Wouldn't it have been easier to have kidnapped him someplace else?
I had the ferries watched for several days and found at the time of night, in the bitter cold weather we've been having, the rear deck of the ferry is almost always deserted. So we planned it that way. We had other plans ready in case that didn't work out.
Oh, Nick, am I glad to see you.
Patsy, are you all right? Anybody hurt you?
No, Nick. They were a little rough, but they got as good as they gave me. Look at that black eye on the guy on the left.
Good for you, Patsy.
Hey, Nick, after I got Patsy loose, I looked in some of the other rooms, and I found this dame in the front room up there. Says she's Marion Blake.
My name is Marion Blake.
You're not Marion Blake. You're Alice Evans.
No, I'm not Alice Evans. I'm Marion Blake.
Aren't you saying that you're Marion Blake because you're afraid the gang will hurt your father if you admit you are really Alice Evans?
What?
Well, you're quite safe now, Miss Evans. Oh, Mr. Evans.
Yes?
Will you come in here, please?
Why, yes, Mr. Carter.
My father here. And free.
Yes, Miss Evans. Here he is.
Oh,
Father.
Alice, my dear. Oh, I've been
Penny,
so worried about you.
you better go get Riley.
Are you
You'll find him
all right?
waiting just around the corner. He can take over now.
Didn't tell me where you were. Mr. Carter, I can never thank you enough for what you've done. We owe you our lives, Alice and I.
You don't owe me anything, Mr. Evans.
Getting rats like these out of circulation gives me more satisfaction than anything else ever could. This is her room. You two wait here till I call you.
Come in.
Good morning, Miss Evans.
Oh, good morning, Mr. Carter. Have you discovered anything about my father?
I was about to ask you the same question. Have you heard from him?
No, Mr. Carter. Nothing.
Well, let me be the first to bring you the good news.
Good news?
Yes. Your father has been found.
He's been found?
Yes. He was kidnapped and imprisoned by some crooks who were trying to steal his fortune.
Oh, my poor father. Where was he found?
In a basement room where the gang was keeping him prisoner.
Has he told you what happened to him?
Oh, yes. He told us everything.
Everything?
Oh, by the way, Miss Evans, I brought a friend with me this morning. I thought you might like to meet her. May I ask her in?
Yes. Yes, of course.
Alan, will you bring the young lady in?
Okay, Nick.
Do you recognize this young lady, Miss Evans?
All right, Mr. Carter. You can drop that Miss Evans stuff now. I see you know the whole story.
Practically the whole story, yes. Oh, Alice, have you met the real Marion Blake?
No, I haven't. My goodness, she does look like me, doesn't she?
Yes, but you didn't fool me, dear.
No, I suppose I was crazy to believe that I could fool a man who was as much in love with you as he is, Miss Evans. The resemblance is certainly close enough to fool almost anyone else, though. Why, she even sounds like me.
Miss Blake, whose idea was it to substitute you for Alice Evans?
My husband's. He was the head of a Chicago gang. Saw a picture in the paper, and the idea came to him. Her coming back from South America seemed to be the ideal setup for carrying out the scheme, so we came east to do it. We knew Winslow from a couple of jobs we did for him in Chicago. Didn't it occur to your husband that when you threw my father off the ferry, he might get pneumonia in the icy water and die? We didn't worry about that. We knew he'd live long enough for what we wanted. Why, you cold-blooded...
Alice, take it easy.
But did you hear what she...
That's all over with, dear. The police will take care of her now.
I'm not usually bloodthirsty, but I hope she gets the electric chair.
Well, the chair's hardly the sentence for attempted extortion, Alice. But by the time she gets out of jail, she'll no longer be young and pretty. And with the marks that prison will leave on her, she'll never again be able to double for you.
This was another strange experience of Nick Carter, Master Detective, called The Substitute Bride, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Night Ferry. Another of the curious adventures of Nick Carter, which are brought to you regularly at this time by WOR Mutual. And now, Nick, what strange adventure are you and Patsy going to tell us about next week?
Next week, I want to tell you about a case that never seemed to be twice the same.
What do you mean by that, Nick?
Well, what Nick means is this. The case started out as a suicide, turned into a murder, and then disappeared entirely.
And I disappeared with it.
Well, all this sounds very screwy to me. Are you sure you're talking about next week's story?
Nothing else but. But I'm afraid that if you want any more details, you'll have to listen to the story itself.
And if you're wise, you won't miss it. It's one of our best.
That it is. But for now, so long, folks.
So long.
And so long to you both until next week. In the strange adventure you have just heard, Nick Carter was impersonated by Lon Clark, Patsy by Helen Choate. Original music was played by Lou White. The entire production was written and directed by Jock McGregor. Next week, at the same time, listen to another curious experience of Nick Carter entitled
The Disappearing Corpse, or Nick Carter and the Mystery of the Apartment House Murder.
This story is a copyrighted feature of Street and Smith Publications, Incorporated. The Return of Nick Carter is produced in the studios of WOR and is broadcast over most of these stations every Wednesday evening at 8:30 Eastern War Time. This is Mutual.
It's a case for Nick Carter, master detective.
Yes, it's the case of the Red Goose murder. Another case for that most famous of all manhunters, the detective whose ability at solving crime is unequaled in the history of detective fiction, Nick Carter, master detective.
Oh, listen, Patsy, why do you have to come back to the office at this time of night?
I just want to be sure that I finished everything before I left Scubby. With Nick away, it sort of leaves the responsibility on my shoulders.
Okay, but shake it up, will you? The last show starts at 8:40, and it's 8:20 now.
This won't take but a minute, Scubby. I simply want to have everything in order for the morning.
That was a good feed we had, wasn't it?
That salad was out of this world.
Oh, doggone it. I knew we should have stayed away from this place.
Nick Carter's office, Patsy Bowen speaking.
Mr. Carter there?
Not at the moment. Who's calling, please?
Art Bradley, manager of the Red Goose. When do you expect Mr. Carter?
I can't say exactly. Can I do something for you? I'm his assistant.
Maybe you could help me out.
Well, I'll be glad to if I can. Suppose you tell me why you called.
It's like this. My girl Singers just died very suddenly.
Oh.
She was all right a half hour ago, but when I stopped in her room just now, she was slumped on the floor dead. Looks very odd to me.
Well, why don't you call the police?
Well, I was going to, but the police visiting my nightclub would hurt business. And she may not have been killed, so I wondered if Mr. Carter, you see, I met him the other evening at one of his lectures.
I see.
I wondered if he wouldn't come over and see what actually happened before I do anything further.
If you have any suspicion that her death wasn't natural, Mr. Bradley, you'd better call the police.
Yes, I suppose I had better. Who shall I call? Can you tell me?
Look, Mr. Bradley, leave it to me. I'll take care of it for you.
Oh, well, that'll be fine. Thank you so much. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Now what, more trouble?
Not for us, Scubby. I have to call Sergeant Matheson. Then it's us for the movie.
Oh, swell. I thought for a minute we were going to miss that Western.
Oh, no, sir.
Homicide. Sergeant Matheson.
Oh, hello, Sergeant. This is Patsy.
Oh, hiya, Patsy. What's up?
Art Bradley, manager of the Red Goose on West 7th Street, says his girl singer is dead, and he thinks maybe she didn't die naturally. You better take a look and see what's what.
Nick going over?
No. Nick's out of town for a few days. You'll have to solve this alone, if you can.
What do you mean, if I can? I solved murder cases before you was born. Just because Nick has helped me out once or twice.
I apologize, Sergeant. Happy hunting to you. Bye.
Come on, Patsy. We just got time to make it.
Right with you, Scubby. Let's see how the movies do it, just for a change.
So this is just the way you found her, Bradley, huh? Nothing been touched?
Nothing, Sergeant. You see, I opened the door to the dressing room to speak to her, and there she lay on the floor. I shut the door again and called Mr. Carter.
Good. Yeah, it's murder, all right. You see this?
That mark around her neck, you mean?
Yeah, strangled with a fine cord or a wire, maybe. It's murder, sure. Only dead a few minutes, too. Not more than 15 or 20, I'd say. How did you happen to come to her dressing room, Bradley?
Well, it's payday today, and I brought up the payroll sheet for her to sign. See, I'd given her envelope downstairs some time before, but she hadn't signed for it.
How much did she make?
$150 a week.
Good racket she was in. Made more than I do. That her handbag on the dressing table?
Yes, I think so.
Notice it's open. Let's see if she's still got all that dough. Empty, by golly. Not a cent left in it.
Hey, that must have been the motive for the killing.
Yeah.
Robbery.
Uh-huh. Beautiful kid like that killed for a measly $150. Wait till I get my hands on the guy that did...
If you do, Sergeant.
What? Patsy, what are you doing here? And the demon reporter, Scubby Wilson.
Hiya, Matty. We were almost to the movies when Patsy's feminine curiosity got the better of her. She just couldn't stand the idea of a murder investigation going on without her being here to poke her nose in it.
Uh-huh. Well, Patsy, now that you poked your nose in, you can just poke it right out again. I don't need no help from you.
Why, Sergeant, I wasn't trying to help. I was just interested. Is that... Was she killed, Sergeant?
Yeah, strangled with a cord or a piece of wire. $150 stolen out of her handbag. And no more questions, see?
Yes, Sergeant. But please, may I just watch?
Okay. Just don't bother me.
I won't.
Bradley, how many rooms on this floor?
Well, there are 3 rooms on the second floor, Sergeant. My office, this dressing room, and the dark room. All on this side of the building.
Dark room? What's that for?
Well, that's where the girl who takes the flashlights of customers in the club develops the pictures she takes.
Oh.
As soon as she gets 3 or 4 snaps, she comes up and makes prints for the customers to buy.
Then she could have been in and out of this room any time.
Well, yes. Yes, she could.
I want to talk to her.
Sure.
Hey, if all 3 rooms are on this side, they must all look out onto that roof next door.
Yes, they do. The adjoining building is a 1-story flat-roofed affair, same length as this one is.
Uh-huh. Windows always kept open, Ollie?
Oh, on hot nights like this, yes.
You ever see anyone on that roof? From this club, I mean.
No, I don't ever remember any of our people ever going out there. No reason why they... Marie, just a minute.
Yes, Mr. Bradley?
Sergeant, this is Marie, the girl who takes the pictures. You
Oh.
said you wanted to talk to her.
Yeah, I do. Marie, when did you see this girl? This...
Paula! What's happened to her? Is she...
Yes, Marie. She's dead. She's been killed.
Poor Paula.
When did you see her last?
Why, it was just after her first show, maybe half an hour ago.
Was she all right when you saw her?
Oh, yes. She was as happy as anything. She came upstairs just as I finished printing my last batch of photos. I asked her for an autographed picture of herself, and she said that if I'd take one, she'd autograph it for me.
You took one, did you?
Yes, I snapped it right then.
You developed it yet?
No, I was just going to now.
Uh-huh. Well, let me see it as soon as you get it done. Might get some ideas from it.
I'll have it for you in 10 minutes, officer. And may I watch you, Marie? I used to take pictures when I was a kid. I'm Patsy Bowen, Sergeant Matheson's assistant.
My assistant, my pain in the neck.
Of course, Miss Bowen, I'm glad to have you. Did you ever develop your pictures when you took them? Oh, no, I couldn't do that.
Yeah, women. They give me a pain.
Mr. Bradley, how many employees do you have here in the Red Goose?
Why, there are 12 in the kitchen crew, 7 in the orchestra, 5 front men in the lobby and inside, check girl, flower girl, and Marie.
I want to talk to them, all of them. Get them up here.
Now, look, Sergeant, couldn't we sort of take it easy? Just talk to them one at a time, kind of private-like? And don't want to upset the whole club. Give a club a bad name, you know.
Oh, don't give it another thought, Mr. Bradley. Sergeant Matheson is the soul of discretion and the epitome of integrity.
Hey, are you calling me names again?
Oh, not at all, Matty. They were compliments, if you only knew it.
Well, pipe down, will you? Okay, Bradley, I'll take it easy, but I want to talk to every one of them. Alone or together, I don't care. Now, come on, let's get started.
Hey, Sergeant. Yeah? Got some news for you.
Yeah? What is it, Scubby?
Your homicide squad is all through. Just left.
Oh, some news. That helps a lot.
You finished your checkup?
Yeah, we've accounted for all but 2 waiters and 1 of the front men. And all 3 of them have been with me for years. They can't be mixed up in this.
Who says they can't? Anybody could be mixed up in it. But we'll let them go for now. I want to ask that Marie a few questions. She's the one nobody can check up on. Let's go back up and see what she's got to say for herself.
If you don't mind, Sergeant, I'll stay down here. You 2 go right ahead. Ask her anything.
All right, come on, Scubby.
Right with you, Matty, old boy.
Bradley says she only makes $35 a week. What she can get out of the customers. She could have needed that money.
Oh, she seems like a nice kid, Matty. I don't think she'd be mixed
You
up.
too? When will you guys learn that appearances don't mean a thing?
Oh, there you are.
Oh,
I was going to look for you. Marie's been waiting to show you the picture she took of Paula. Here it is, officer.
yeah.
And just think, she'll never autograph it for me now.
Looks happy enough.
And look at this one, Sergeant.
What?
That's a picture Marie took while Paula was singing her last number. See her in the background?
Yeah.
And see whose picture it is.
Hey, that's Elworth Van Keppel, the millionaire playboy.
Uh-huh.
Does he come here often?
Oh, about once a month, and always with a different girl. Blonde this time. He always gets his picture taken, too, and he's always good for a swell tip.
Marie, suppose you and me have a little talk.
Now?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to go down and deliver these pictures before the customers leave.
Okay, but make it snappy. I'll go with you, just in case.
In case of what?
Just in case.
Wasn't Marie nice, Cubby? She made me extra copies of her last batch of pictures for my scrapbook.
Patsy, let me see that picture of Van Keppel again.
Well, sure, Scubby. It's a good one, isn't it?
Patsy, how many men do you see in the orchestra of this picture?
Huh? Oh, gee, Scubby, they're so far in the background, it's hard to tell.
Well, look closely.
5, 6. 6, why?
Well, Bradley told us there were 7 men in the band. The picture shows only 6.
Huh?
I wonder where the other one was.
How are you folks
Oh.
making out? Find anything yet?
Oh, Mr. Bradley, you said there were 7 men in the band.
Yes.
Well, this picture taken during the first show tonight shows only 6.
That's so. Well, let's see. Yes, the guitar player, Steve Dawson, isn't there. See, that's funny.
Any idea why he wasn't there when this picture was snapped?
No, I know he was there when the show started, and he's there now. I saw him as I came up. I don't understand it.
Scubby.
Huh?
Do you suppose he could have...
Oh, Bradley, Marie tells me this was Paula's last night here. She was going to work for another club beginning tomorrow night.
Yes, that's true.
Well, how come you didn't tell me about that before?
I guess it just slipped my mind, Sergeant.
Why was she leaving?
Well, she got a better job. More money than I could pay her. That's all.
Sergeant, while Paula was singing her last number, the guitar player was missing from the band. Do you suppose he could have come up here and done this?
A guitar player, huh? Hey, Bradley, do these musicians have a dressing room here anywhere?
Yes, they do, on the 3rd floor. They keep their stuff in lockers up there.
How much longer are they going to be playing?
Let me see, it's 9:10 now. They break at 9:30.
Uh-huh, so we got 20 minutes. Let's have a look at this guitar player's locker. Maybe he knows something about this. Which one is this Steve's locker?
It's the 3rd one from the left. It's got his name on it.
Good. Oh, not locked. That helps. No, nothing in this old jacket. Just the racing form.
Hey, what's that written on it?
Huh? Oh, Central 8740, Mike. That's probably his bookmaker.
Yeah, probably. These boys play the horses pretty heavily, I understand.
Oh, yeah? Then this Steve could need money, maybe, if the nags weren't running for it.
Anything else there, Sergeant?
No, Patsy, only this old guitar case.
And that's empty.
Gosh, they use nice velvet for the lining, don't they?
Well, maybe it was nice once, but it's pretty well shot now, Patsy.
Oh, yes. Look at this big tear in it. It's... Oh, Sergeant, look at this.
What? Money. Hidden in the lining.
Right. 7 20s and a 10.
Say, that's what I paid Paula tonight.
What?
So Steve took it, but why did he have to kill her to get it? He could have got it without that.
Well, we don't know that he did kill her, Mr. Bradley.
The guy that got the money is the guy that did the killing, according to my book. Hey, Bradley, get Steve Dawson up here. We'll see if he can get out of this.
Certainly, Sergeant. I'll have him meet you in Paula's room right after the band breaks for intermission. And you can bet I'll keep my eye on him until then.
Mr. Bradley, do you have a phone we could use?
Yes, of course. There's one in my office. The room right next to Paula.
Thanks. Come with me, Scubby. I've got a job for you.
Anywhere with you, beautiful. Just lead the way. You say you want me to call this number we found on Steve's racing form?
Right, Scubby. And ask for Mike.
Oh, do you want me to ask him anything special?
Oh, no. Just say it's Steve Dawson calling.
Yeah.
Then stroll around and see if maybe he won't let something slip about Steve's finances.
Okay, what can we lose? Here goes.
Right.
8, 7. Oh, I wish I knew what this Steve's voice sounds like.
Well, just talk a little husky, as if it were a bad connection. Mike'll never know the difference. I hope.
The Purple Pig. Good evening.
Oh, hello. Is Mike there?
This is Mike. Who's talking?
Steve Dawson.
Oh, yeah, Dawson. You got the money ready for me?
Well, I've got part of it.
Part of it. Hey, listen, you know what I told you. You have it all when I call for it tonight, or else. The whole $300 you borrowed, and the $100 interest for the 2 weeks you had it.
Well, isn't there some way I can let you have part of it now and the rest
Cut
a little...
the stalling, Dawson. 400 smackers in a bunch by 1 o'clock tonight for trouble. And I mean trouble.
Okay, Mike. Goodbye.
So Steve did need money.
He sure did. $400 by 1 o'clock tonight, and no fooling around either.
So Steve might have needed that money so bad he'd be willing to kill Paula to get it.
Well, it sure looks that way from where I sit. I wonder
Scubby, what's that on the floor over under the window?
Huh? Oh. Looks like tar.
Tar?
Yeah. Tar off somebody's heel. Maybe somebody was out on the roof and got some on his shoe.
Mr. Bradley said nobody ever went out there. But look here. Here's a smudge on the windowsill, too, Scubby. Do you suppose...
Have you got a flashlight, Patsy?
Yeah, my swell one's here in my bag.
I think I'll have a look at the roof outside this window. There might be footprints or something.
If you're going out there, I am, too. Give me your hand.
Okay, beautiful. Here. Easy now. There you are.
Hey, tar on this roof is soft, isn't it?
Yeah, tar roofs generally get that way on warm days. No, I don't see any prints here anyway. Well, that doesn't prove anything, of course. Soft tar wouldn't hold prints very well.
Scubby, this fire escape. Oh, I'm getting all mixed up. Must be the one that goes up to the musician's locker room.
Well, it probably is. I remember seeing one when we were up there before.
Is Paula's body still in a room?
No, they took it away after the homicide boys finished their investigation.
Oh, I'm glad of that. I don't...
What's the matter?
I tripped over something. Caught my toe in it.
Well, there's nothing here, Patsy. Oh, wait.
Huh?
Ah, here's an old guitar string. Maybe you tripped on that.
An old guitar string. And Steve plays the guitar. Funny, isn't it?
How do you mean funny?
The sergeant says Paula was choked with a cord or a piece of wire.
Of course. And finding this guitar string here is no coincidence at all, at all.
I wonder.
What do you mean, I wonder?
Huh? Oh, I don't know, Scubby, but that's what Nick always says when he's not sure of something.
Oh, his master's voice, huh?
Something like that. I'm just trying to think the way Nick would do it if he were here. Oh, I wish he were here, too.
Oh, I don't know. It looks pretty open and shut to me.
I know it does, but that's always the time Nick says to... Scubby, there's one of the musicians just coming into Paula's room.
That must be Steve Dawson.
Yeah, come on. I want to hear what he has to say.
You want me, Sergeant? Yeah, come on in. Have a chair.
Mind if we join you, Sergeant?
For the love of Pete, what are you two doing out there on the roof?
Oh, just looking at the stars, that's all. Do you mind if we come in?
I don't mind what you do so long as you don't get in my way.
Thanks. Help me up, Scubby.
All right, here you are. Now, easy. Watch the sill. Yep.
Thanks, Scubby. Won't you come in, too, Mr. Wilson?
Oh, delighted, Miss Bowen. So kind of you to offer, Nick.
Will you two ever stop clowning? This is a murder case.
Murder? What have I got to do with a murder?
Everything, if I ain't mistaken, Dawson. Where were you at about 8 o'clock tonight?
8 o'clock?
Yeah.
Oh, playing with the band, same as always.
That's so. Patsy, where's that picture you had?
Here it is, Sergeant.
Thanks. Now then, Steve, show me which one in this picture is you.
Why, I don't seem to be there. When was this taken?
During Paula's last number in the first show tonight. Now, where were you?
Oh, yeah, I remember now. I was late coming in.
Mr. Bradley said you were there when the show opened.
Huh? Oh, yeah, I had to step out for a minute.
You need money pretty bad, don't you?
Money?
Yeah.
No, I just got paid tonight. I got plenty.
You didn't get paid enough to repay the loan Mike made you. $300 plus 100 interest.
Hey, what's that? Where did you find that out?
Mike told us.
Mike? What do you know about Mike?
And he's calling for it at 1 o'clock tonight, isn't he?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No? Then why did you kill Paula Windsor tonight and then swipe $150 from her purse? And don't try to lie out of it. We found the money in that old guitar case in your locker.
I didn't kill her. I swear it.
Sergeant, we found this on the roof just outside the window.
What's that? A string for a fiddle or something. So what?
Could be a guitar string, Matty.
What? That settles it, Dawson. You saw Bradley give Paula her salary earlier tonight, so you sneaked off the bandstand during her last number, came up to her room, and tried to sneak her purse. She caught you, and you killed her.
No, I didn't kill her. I didn't.
You strangled her with a guitar string you happened to have in your pocket and threw it out the window.
I didn't kill her. She wasn't even in the room when I took the money.
Oh, so you admit you stole the money.
Yeah. Yes, I stole it, but I didn't kill her. She was just finishing her song when I got back downstairs.
No good, Dawson. If you can make a jury believe that, you're a better man than I think you are.
But I tell you, I didn't kill her.
Look here, Scubby.
I took the money.
Here's a slip of paper on her dressing table with that same number on it that we just called. CE8740. Wonder what she was doing with that.
Playing the horses, maybe.
I doubt it. Sergeant.
Yeah.
May I ask Mr. Dawson a question?
Oh, you again. All right, ask it. Let me get out of here.
Mr. Dawson, what did you and Paula have in common about the Purple Pig?
Nothing. Mike is the manager there, and he's my bookie. Paula was supposed to start singing there tomorrow night. Mike met her here when he came over once to see me and gave her a job. That's all.
So that's where she was going.
Yeah. Bradley was all burned up about it, but Mike offered her more than Bradley did, so she gave notice.
Come on, Dawson. You and I have a date at headquarters.
Look, Sergeant.
I'm booking you for robbery and possible murder. Now hold out your hand. I got a bracelet for it.
But I tell you, I
What
just...
you tell me don't count. So long, Miss Patsy Carter. If you pick up anything I missed, give me a ring. I'm always happy to hear from you.
Why, thank you, Sergeant. Well, Scubby, what do you think?
I think if I killed a girl with a guitar string, I'd never throw it out the window where it would be found first thing.
Well, that's the way I feel. And it seems to me that if Paula did catch Steve Dawson stealing her money, he wouldn't be likely to go fishing around in his pockets to see if he had an old guitar string he could kill her with.
Gosh, you're right, Patsy. He'd more likely strangle her with his bare hands.
You know, Scubby, I think the murder had nothing to do with the robbery. I think whoever killed Paula did it deliberately and used the guitar string to throw suspicion on Steve Dawson.
Which would account for his leaving it right outside where it would be sure to be found.
Uh-huh. And I noticed another thing, too, Scubby, that makes me think Dawson didn't kill her. It's not proof, but it's something to think about.
Yeah, what's that?
Well, when I saw Paula's body, I noticed that she had unzipped her dress as if she were going to take it off.
Uh-huh.
And her shoes were off, and one of her stockings was unfastened, which means she'd been in her room long enough to start changing her costume.
Good girl. And if she'd been leaning over and fastening her stockings, the killer could have crept up behind her without being seen.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Oh, poor kid. Just look at this picture of her that Marie took tonight. She's laughing and looks as if she didn't have... Scubby!
Huh?
Look at this picture. Look at the mirror.
Hey, there's the figure of a man reflected in the mirror. From the angle at which the picture was taken, he must have been standing on the roof just outside her window.
He probably thought he couldn't be seen, but the camera caught him in the mirror. Oh, it isn't plain enough to make out who it is.
No, the picture doesn't show him very plainly. But it's definitely a man in a black coat, and the musicians wear white. So it's not the guitar player.
Scubby, this man has a flower in his buttonhole. It's the right buttonhole instead of the left, the way most men wear them.
Hey, let's ask Bradley. Maybe he'll be able to recognize who it is.
Right, Scubby, come on. We'll show Sergeant Matheson yet. Mr. Bradley, we've got something to show you. Can we go somewhere where it won't be so noisy?
Yes. Suppose you go right in here. With the door closed, you can at least hear yourself think.
Yes, this is better.
Now, what have you found that would interest me?
Mr. Bradley, this picture was taken this evening in Paula's room, right after the first show.
Oh, yes, I remember Marie saying that she took one.
If you look in the mirror, you can see the reflection of a man standing outside her window on the roof.
What? Yes, I see. Hey, it's a pretty pity it isn't a better picture of him so he could recognize who it is.
Mr. Bradley, have you ever been out on the roof outside your office?
What? No, I never go out there.
Then how do you suppose the spot of roof tar got on the rug in your office?
I wouldn't have the
It
least...
probably came off your shoe, Mr. Bradley. I see there's still some tar on the heel.
But I didn't...
Your right heel.
Say, look here, are you implying that I killed Paula?
I am. I didn't realize it until I saw you again just now. But you wear your flower in your right lapel. Practically no one does that.
You're a pair of idiots. Why should I kill Paula? I had no motive to do a thing like that.
I don't understand about the motive part either, Mr. Bradley, but I'm sure you killed her.
Now, see here. Just because I happened to be standing outside Paula's window when Marie snapped that picture doesn't prove that I killed her. Just went out for some air and then went back to my office. She was alive the last time I saw her.
You've forgotten one thing, Mr. Bradley. Your fingerprints are on the guitar string you strangled her with.
All right, so I killed her. What are you two going to do about it? I'll have you two taken care of so fast
Sit
you won't...
down, Mr. Bradley.
You can't scare me with that little pop gun.
Don't kid yourself, Mr. Bradley. Patsy knows how to use that gun, and she will if she has to. And a .22 makes just as good a hole in a man's heart as a .45 does if it's aimed right, the way Patsy aims.
Thank you, Scubby. Now, will you sit down, Mr. Bradley? Thank you. Now, Scubby, if you'll call Sergeant Matheson, he can put both the robber and the killer in the same cell.
You mean you're going to be at that typewriter for another hour yet?
I'm sorry, Scubby, but I have to have a full report ready for Nick when he comes back. And I want to get it down in black and white while it's still fresh in my mind.
Okay, I quit. I'm going home. I'll see you again sometime, I hope.
Why, I hope so, Scubby. Give me a ring sometime when you're free.
Oh, darn you, Patsy Bowen. If I wasn't in love with you, I'd wring your neck.
Good night, Scubby, dear.
Good night.
Oh, poor Scubby. Let's see. Where was I? Oh, yes. Nick Carter's office. Patsy Bowen speaking.
This is Matty, Patsy.
Oh.
I just wanted to tell you, Bradley made a full confession.
He did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. I'll put that in my report, too. Oh, what'd he say?
He said he planned to kill Paula tonight, so he waited on the roof outside her window for her to come back from the floor show.
Uh-huh.
It was while he was standing out there that he saw Steve Dawson swipe the money out of her purse.
Oh.
Well, that gave him the idea that he could have a perfect alibi by making Steve the goat for the killing as well as the robbery. So he went up the fire escape to the musician's room, found an old guitar string Steve had thrown out, and got back outside Paula's window just in time to see Marie snap her picture.
I see.
And then, while she was changing her clothes, he crept up behind her and strangled her. And threw the guitar string out on the roof where it would be found by the police.
Or by someone else.
Yeah.
Did he say what his motive was?
Yeah. He loved Paula, but she turned him down cold. He discovered her, you see, gave her her first job. He felt she owed him something, but she told him to his face that he had done nothing for her and that she was leaving him for a better job with a better man. Well, that made him so mad, that and the fact that he really loved her desperately, that he decided if he couldn't have her, nobody else was going to.
Oh, the poor guy. Love is an awful thing sometimes.
Yeah.
Especially if it's not returned.
Yeah, but look, Patsy, there's one thing I don't understand. You said you told him his fingerprints were on the guitar string. Now, what was the idea of that?
Well, Nick always has something to clinch the case with, so I happened to think of that.
But you ought to know a guitar string wouldn't take any fingerprints.
Well, sure, Sergeant, I knew it. But Mr. Bradley didn't.
Well, Patsy, in the absence of Nick, I suppose I'll have to get my hints on next week's show from you. How about it?
I sure can do, Carl. The case started when both Vince O'Neill and Otto Lerner found they were married to the same girl.
What did Nick do about that?
Well, he started out to find the girl and straighten things out, if he could.
And he found her, I suppose, knowing Nick?
Oh, yes, he did. But when he located her finally, she could no longer give him any information. She'd been using a new jar of cold cream and taking a bath.
Well, what did that have to do with it?
Why, everything. That and the fight on the train.
Yeah. All right. What's the name of the story?
We call it The Case of the Extra Husband.
Nick Carter, Master Detective, which is produced and directed by Jock McGregor, is copyrighted by Street & Smith Publications, Incorporated. Pictured stories of Nick Carter appear in every issue of the Shadow comics. In the broadcasts of Nick Carter, Master Detective, Lon Clark is starred as Nick, Charlotte Manson is featured as Patsy, Matty is played by Ed Latimer, Scubby by John Kane. Original music is played by George Wright, script is by Jock McGregor. Any resemblance in these programs to actual persons, living or dead, or to actual places is purely coincidental. Nick Carter, Master Detective, is presented over most of these mutual stations each week at the same time. This is Carl Caruso saying, so long until next week. Auctions are exciting, but we've never heard of a public auction where the bidding went up to murder. There's your promise of thrilling mystery entertainment again tomorrow night over these mutual stations on Bulldog Drummond's case called Upholstered for Murder. That's Bulldog Drummond, Mondays on Mutual. This program was heard in Canada through the facilities of the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. This is the Mutual Broadcasting System.
More winners. Yes, the winners in the second big jingle contest will be announced today. So listen now while new post-war Old Dutch cleanser, famous for chasing dirt, presents Nick Carter, famous for chasing crime. Every week at this time, two great names are joined, as new post-war Old Dutch cleanser brings you one of the most resourceful and daring characters in all detective fiction, Nick Carter, Master Detective.
Nick, I'm getting cramped hiding under this desk. Do you really think he's coming?
$50,000 is pretty tempting bait. And he sounded plenty interested over the phone.
Well, if we only had a light in here, maybe...
Quiet. Listen.
Someone's forcing the window.
Hold tight, Betsy. I think that's our man.
This is contest number 4. After this, there's just one more.
Yes, sir. Here we are already at the 4th week of Old Dutch Cleanser's 5 exciting weekly contests.
Been putting it off, haven't you? Been saying, I'll get my entry in tomorrow for sure. And while you've been putting it off, other folks have been winning brand new 1948 Ford sedans.
There's still plenty of chance for you, though, if you act promptly. Again this week, Old Dutch is giving away 4 brand new Super Deluxe Ford V8 four-door sedans and $500 in cash, just for supplying a winning last line to this jingle.
For faster cleaning with new ease, just say, new post-war Old Dutch, please. With activated seismatite, da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. We want a last line only, rhyming with seismatite. Later on, I'll give you a sample last line, so have pencil and paper handy to copy it down for guidance.
Mail your entries to Old Dutch Cleanser, Box U, Chicago 77, Illinois. Box U, Chicago 77, Illinois. Include the windmill pictures from 2 packages of Old Dutch with each entry. If you didn't win this week, try again. The more entries you send, the greater your chances of winning. Send one in tonight.
And now, the case of the last old-timer. Today's adventure starring Lon Clark as Nick Carter, brought to you by new post-war Old Dutch cleanser. If you ask Waldo McGlynn, crime isn't what it used to be. No, sir. Give Waldo the good old days when Nick's father, Sim Carter, was one of the country's leading detectives, and his right-hand man was Waldo McGlynn. Those were the days when crime was crime. But today, at Nick's office, Waldo's audience isn't very attentive, because Nick is inspecting a new camera, and Patsy is finishing some letters. But Waldo still holds forth on his favorite subject.
I tell you, Nick, boy, we had real criminals in them days. You didn't catch them fellas by using a microscope and a lie detector. No, sirree, you had to stand up.
Nick. Anything else?
Oh, no thanks, Patsy. Hey, you know, with a fast lens like this, I could down here take pictures in the dark.
Doggone it, Patsy. I wish you wouldn't interrupt me. Now I forget what I was saying.
Oh, that's easy. No, sir, you had to stand up and shoot it out.
Huh?
Shoot first and ask questions afterwards. That's the way we work.
I didn't say all that. Well, not yet, anyway.
But you were going to. Oh, I know that routine by heart, Waldo. I've heard it so often.
All right, laugh. Go ahead. But you'll find out I'm right. And before long, too. You know who got out of Sing Sing this week?
No.
Who?
Nitro Nelson, that's who. The king of the safecrackers.
Oh, yes, I heard my father talk about him.
Yes, sirree. Your old man and me shot it out with Nitro and his pal, Dan Brinkley, after they pulled that Cohen Securities job and killed the night watchman.
Oh, I thought they got the chair for that, Waldo.
No, only Dan Brinkley was executed. Nitro testified against him and got off with a life sentence.
And they released him this week?
Yep, paroled after serving 25 years.
Oh.
So, Nick, you better look out for the biggest crime wave this old town has seen for many a day.
Well, I doubt whether Nitro is much of a menace anymore, Waldo. Well, the old boy must be past 70.
Well, so what? He still knows more about cracking a safe than all these modern yeggs put together. You just give him a flask of nitroglycerin, and he will...
Waldo, those methods are out of date. Modern safes can't be cracked as easily as those old-timers.
Okay, you just wait and see.
All right, Waldo. I promise to call on you the very first time I get a case involving a blown safe. Nick Carter speaking.
Hello. This is Cornelius Jones of Jones Fisher and Caraway.
Oh, yes, Mr. Jones.
Somebody broke into our offices here at the factory last night, murdered the night watchman, got away with our payroll.
Well, have you notified the police?
Well, of course, but we'd like to have you on the case, too. Will you help us out?
Okay, I'll be out there in 30 minutes, Mr. Jones.
Splendid.
Oh, by the way, where was the money? In a safe?
Of course it was. This thief got it by blowing the door of the safe clear off its hinges.
What did I tell you, Nick boy? What did I tell you?
One case doesn't make a crime wave, Waldo.
Just the same.
Oh, Patsy, you have the camera, haven't you?
I sure have. Well, here's Mr. Jones's office.
Come in. Very well, Louis. I'll take 2 safes of this QS2 model. I want delivery as soon as possible.
I'll have them for you inside of a week, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, I'm Nick Carter.
Oh, come in, Mr. Carter. Come in.
Thank you. This is my secretary, Miss Bowen.
Hello, Mr.
How do you
Jones.
do?
And my assistant, Mr. Waldo Aloysius McGlynn.
How do you do? How do you do? Meet Mr. Lewis of the Hercules Safe Company.
Mr. Lewis?
How do you do? Hercules Safe Company, huh? You investigating the robbery, too, Mr. Lewis?
No. I'm a salesman, not a detective. I just sold Mr. Jones 2 of our latest models, one for the factory here and one for the downtown office.
Yeah, wish you'd sold them to me before this thing happened last night.
Well, you can't see I didn't try, Mr. Jones.
Pardon me, Mr. Jones. Would you mind showing me where the safe is? I'd like to take a few pictures.
Pictures?
Yes, I'm testing a new camera with a special lens for detail work.
Say, that's quite a camera, Mr. Carter. May I see it?
Certainly. Help yourself.
I've read about these, but this is the first one I've ever seen. Wow. F1.4 lens. That's unusual. Golly, I'd like to have one of these.
Yeah, well, you get those new safes here by Saturday. I'll buy a roll of film, Louis.
They'll be here, Mr. Jones.
Come on, Carter. I'll show you where the robbery took place. You can get all the pictures.